journey week by week. SNL's best episodes they seek. From Carlin to Hanks to Mulaney, counting down moments for you and me. Amazing episodes, epic hosts, the ones that the fans love the most.
Yes, welcome on in, everybody, to the Saturday Night Network for another edition of our countdown of SNL's greatest episodes of all time. My name is John Schneider from the SNN. So pumped to be with you for our final episode to wrap up this countdown series we began all the way in June, counting down 50 through 1. And today we are going to tell you about all of the losers, all of the episodes that did not make the cut here. And we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. And we have so many charts, so many numbers to go through, talk about all the results. It's going to be a great time. And joining me, as always, is Bill Kenny. Bill, how are you?
I'm good, John. This is exciting, right? This is the snubs list. So getting finally justice for Steven Seagal, Broderick Crawford, Desi Arnaz. Like we're going to really dive into it here tonight. And I'm excited to get into it.
All of the best episodes ever. We're going to talk through them here. We are, of course, here as a presentation of latenighter.com, and joining us as well for the first time in a while on the podcast is my man Thomas Senna. Thomas, how are you?
Yeah, things are great. I'm glad to be back. It was kind of like a lull during the summer. It's a little for pop culture for me and sports and stuff. My Guardians were like Left for Dead in the AL Central, and now
your Guardians are all the departed SNL cast members, of course.
Yes, exactly. So I'm following my Guardians, following my Bears. SNL is about to start. The fifth sport SNL is about to start. So things are just kicking up in like the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it was great that we got this extra week before the start of the season to be able to do this. So we didn't go 6 hours last week, but we've basically been with you for 2 or 3 hours for the previous 15 weeks to talk through these episodes here on the countdown. So in case for some reason you're joining us at the end of the series, I'm going to put out one final spoiler alert. All of the episodes are available in the archives to binge, so you can go back and watch them all the way through as we reveal them and talk through them. We're going to talk through a lot of the episodes that didn't make the cut. And for anyone at home is like, where was this one? Hopefully we'll hit on those tonight. We're not going to go sketch by sketch on the episodes that we didn't get to. Otherwise, we will be here until next Monday. But I will put at the on the screen right now, I'm going to put the top 50 from the last 15 weeks that we revealed. So here we go for the final time, 50 all the way through 1, starting with Patrick Swayze and Mariah Carey, then Michael Jordan and Public Enemy, David Alan Grier and Silverchair, and Anne Hathaway and The Killers. Then we got Jerry Seinfeld and Annie Lennox, followed by Conan and Don Henley, Justin Timberlake season 38, William Shatner and Lone Justice, Justin Timberlake and Lady Gaga, Christopher Walken and Foo Fighters. That takes us to 40, where we got Alec Baldwin and Pavarotti and Williams, followed by Sigourney Weaver, then Ryan Gosling and Chris Stapleton, Alec Baldwin and the B-52s, Seth MacFarlane and Frank Ocean, Lindsay Lohan and Usher, and then Christopher Walken and Arrested Development, followed by Grodin, Paul Simon and The Persuasions, Jimmy Fallon, Michael Bublé, and Jason Sudeikis and Brandi Carlile. That takes us to the top 30, where we got Will Ferrell and Green Day, George Carlin, Janice Ian and Billy Preston, the series premiere, Peyton Manning's episode with Carrie Underwood, Pedro Pascal and Coldplay, Tom Hanks and Edie Brickell, Jack Black, Elton John and Brandi Carlile, Tom Hanks and Keith Richards, Tina and Amy with Bruce Springsteen, Don Rickles and Billy Idol, John Hamm and Coldplay. Into the top 20, we had Kristen Wiig and Ray, followed by Jimmy Fallon and Justin Timberlake, then Tom Hanks, Aerosmith, Larry David, The 1975, Candice Bergen and Frank Zappa. Then we have Nate Bargatze and the Foo Fighters, John Mulaney, Jack White, Marty Short and Paul McCartney, Adam Sandler, Shawn Mendes, Justin Timberlake is at number 11 from season 32. Then the top 10 episodes of all time, as voted by you. First, we have George Wendt and Francis Ford Coppola with Philip Glass at number 10. At number 9, we got Christopher Walken and Christina Aguilera. 8 was Tom Hanks and Lady Gaga. 7, Dave Chappelle and A Tribe Called Quest. 6, Richard Pryor and Gil Scott-Heron. 5, Betty White and Jay-Z. 4, Eddie Murphy and Lizzo. And then the top 3 we revealed last week here on the podcast. Number 3, Jim Carrey and Soundgarden. Steve Martin and the Blues Brothers came in at 2. And the number 1 episode, according to you, Jack Black and Neil Young. So, Bill, let's summarize the series. How do we feel the listeners did?
The listeners did great. This was such a daunting task, even for people like us, super fans, who follow the show, have watched every one of these episodes 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. 988 episodes, and to narrow it down to 50 is so incredible. Like, even you sent me my list, which we'll go over in a little bit, of episodes I had that didn't make it, and then I thought of another 50 that probably should have made it. So you can debate that all you want, but they did a tremendous job getting most of this right, I think.
Thomas, you said you've been listening in all summer long, so we're going to get your first take here on the top 50. How are you feeling overall about how everything went?
Yeah, well, first, this is as Bill said, this is such a daunting task. When you announced that you were doing this, I'm like, oh my gosh, how is this going to be done? But everybody managed to put their heads together. The listeners did a great job. I made my top 50, and I had 29. I counted 29 of the same ones on shared in the top 50, 21 different. So according to my metrics, I think everybody did a good job. But it's such a hard thing to do, because I think the initial temptation is to start with like great hosts, but then, like, let's say Tom Hanks, right? A lot of his episodes are great, but they bleed together, so you have to go back and remember which sketch went to which episode, and so it becomes a really, really hard task. So I think they did a great job. I'm looking, I have all the same, all my top 10 is all on the SNN list too. So I don't know, I commend everybody for this tough task, but I think ultimately it's a good representation of 50 seasons.
Yeah, and I think that'll be a theme of tonight, where we talk about some of the people who their episodes didn't make the list, about which ones just bled together and that may have pushed them down out of the top 50. We also have, an era that in 86 to 93 that a lot of people consider the best, like you, Bill, who, didn't go towards the top of the list, but we had a lot of episodes represented, but they weren't necessarily represented at the top. Like you and I both felt that the Tom Hanks and Keith Richards episode is a top 10 episode ever for sure. But it ends up at 24 on the list. Like we're missing some of that representation in the upper echelon there, and I think it's probably from some of the bleeding of that era together versus some of the other eras that have these standout moments and episodes. So I think that's the overall theme here. Of course, we got some great commentary last week on the podcast with people talking about the top 3. Would love to know in the comments as you're watching this, either in the live chat or after the fact, what you do think about this list overall in the top 50 and how we did. So those are the 50 episodes that we have revealed over the last few weeks. Next up, we're going to reveal the ones that just missed the cut. So, Bill, should we go 60 to 51 or 51 to 60? What's the best way to do this?
Probably 60 to 51. Give
Okay.
it that kind of extra oomph.
Yeah, so we'll talk about the top 60, so the 60 to 51 here that we haven't talked about yet. Then, of course, we will get to some other stats and we'll reveal some other numbers along the way. And of course, if they're, Bill or Thomas have other episodes they want to ask about, we will get there. So we'll talk first about 60, and then we'll go down to 51, revealing the episodes that just missed the cut here. So as we look together on screen, we have 60 to 56 over here. So from the bottom, 60, Eddie Murphy and Lionel Richie. This is the episode where Eddie Murphy hosts as a cast member. That one lands here at 60. Thomas, just outside the top 50. Do you feel like that one should be in? How are you feeling about that one?
I think it's fine that it's out. I think 60 might even be a little generous for that episode. It's very memorable because it was a cast member filling in for a disheveled Nick Nolte. But I think that was maybe one of the only memorable things about that episode. So I think outside the top 50s, perfectly fine. And even 60s kind of generous in my opinion.
Bill, what do you think? So another Ebersol episode here. This one lands at 60.
Yeah, this isn't the Eddie that I would have put in the top 50 that didn't make it. As Thomas says, like, this is memorable for what it represents. I think he does a stand-up bit in it as well, right? So there is that. But yeah, as far as the episode goes, this feels like the right place.
Yeah, so I will say it definitely feels like this one could have made it, mostly because he hosts as a cast member. And if we're talking about greatness, the iconic nature of someone in the cast taking over as host, I think has to give it eligibility. We next have at 59, John Hamm and Michael Bublé's episode from season 35. We saw John Hamm's first episode make the list here. Bill, we get his second episode here at 59. Do you feel like this is one that probably should have made it?
There's an argument to be made there, but it's not as good as the one that did. Ham and Buble is a nice adding on to the ham, but I don't know. Like there's nothing out of this episode that would definitely put it in the top 50 for me, even though I could put every John Hamm in personally.
Yeah, I love John Hamm. So happy that he came back this last season. I definitely feel like John Hamm and Coldplay's episode from 34 is the more iconic episode, the one that we ended up getting in here to talk about. Hamm and Buble is also a very strong episode, but doesn't have the sketches to me that we got, in the first one. I will say there's another great Will Forte bit here with the closet organizer that we got 2 parts of. That one's a classic for me, Thomas. Do you feel that this is too high, too low, or just right for Hamm and Buble at 59?
It's either just right or a little too low. I think I have it in my top 50, but I think the other episode, like you guys mentioned, is a little better. Sergio came out of this episode. There was a great game time with Randy and Greg from this episode, which was a really underappreciated, awesome recurring sketch from that era. So I think it's top 50 worthy, but I'm not upset that it's not in there.
One that I think is a kind of a no-doubter to me that probably should have been there is Josh Brolin and Adele from October 18th, 2008. This is an iconic episode where, we talked about this a lot when Brolin came back in 49. I mean, this is the episode where Adele essentially makes her American debut and gets to the top of the charts. So for music reasons, it's a very important one. Brolin ends up being a really good host, but this is also the episode where Sarah Palin, the real Sarah Palin, appears on Saturday Night Live. So Thomas, I feel like at 58, that one is too low.
Yeah, I think it probably should be in the top 50. This is an example of like, it's just, this list is so hard to do because I'm looking at it now and I'm like, oh yeah, that one kind of slid by me when I was trying to look at all the episodes. But it was a really it was an episode that had a lot of electricity, I think, in the building. Watching it live, you can kind of feel something a little special was happening. Of course, and the musical guest kind of added to me. It was getting somebody right when they were about to break, which I think is a really nice thing in hindsight. But yeah, I think this probably should be in the top 50.
And Bill, this episode is bookended by the Anne Hathaway episode and the John Hamm episode. So we get the 2 around it. We could have gone 3 in a row here, potentially. How do you feel about this Brolin and Adele episode of 58?
Yeah, how insane was it to watch the show in season 34 at the beginning of the season? Yeah,
longest stretch in the show's history, I think, just pound for pound.
There's definitely an argument for that, sure. I mean, everything that's already been mentioned, plus you get Mark Wahlberg coming in and doing his cameo with Andy, and of course you get the iconic fart face. Like, so this I'm no angel. Yeah, this definitely has an argument for top 50 material for sure.
Then at 57, we have Bill Hader and Hozier. So I know at one point, Bill, during the countdown, you said, oh, like, I wonder if we're going to get a Hader on here. You were thinking about the cast members. Clearly, he is voted as the greatest cast member of all time over the last couple of years. And this is the time where he comes back. He hosts for his first time back at the show. I think, to me, it is probably most memorable for the tribute to Jan Hooks that we get with Kristen Wiig and Bill Hader. But there's still some really strong moments here from Bill. What do you think about this one at 57?
I'm always going to lean towards alumni episodes, especially when it's somebody as strong as Hader coming back. There was a lot of buzz about him coming in, but yeah, as far as the overall episode, this probably just misses the cut, as it obviously does right here.
Thomas, what are your thoughts on Bill Hader Hozier?
Yeah, this is one of those tweener episodes that I think I agree with Bill. There was a really good pre-tape, The Help Fund, that I sometimes go back to that came from this episode. There was Stefan. He came back and did Stefan, lesser puppetry class. So yeah, I had the Jan Hooks tribute, which was outstanding, and The Help Fund, but I don't think it has a great argument for top 50.
Yeah, I think this is probably maybe even a little high, but again, nothing to say about Bill as an episode overall. I think he's a great host. Totally would love to see him come back eventually. I don't know if we're ever going to get that. And I think had we maybe gotten some Bill Hader in season 50 at some point, I do wonder if that episode goes up the list a little bit. Okay, 56. Fascinating episode here. Christina Applegate and Midnight Oil from season 18. This is the very famous Matt Foley Down by the River episode. If you've seen a clip from Saturday Night Live, it's probably this one. Right when we started the countdown, Thomas, Bill and I were talking about like how much does one sketch make an episode? Not enough, apparently. This one gets a 256, but not into the top 50.
Yeah, I'm a proponent for not putting a ton of weight like on one moment. I mean, it should carry some weight, but an episode shouldn't get in just because this is the episode where Matt Foley first premiered. This is that episode. This was actually a pretty strong episode if you look at the run through. This was the one where Nerf crotchbat. If people remember that old one, that was a good. So this was actually a pretty strong episode, and then that coupled with the iconic moment, I think this does have a case for top 50.
Bill, what do you think?
I love Christina Applegate, and I think we should have seen her host more. But yeah, this, we talked about this a lot early on, John, about, like 41 through 50. There was a lot of, oh, well, that's the Chippendale sketch. Oh, but does the episode around it kind of give it the boost? And I don't think this does, because you get a lot of recurring characters. You get the Gap Girls, coffee talk, and things like that. So I don't know. This feels like the okay place for this. We're not talking about greatest sketches. We're talking about greatest episodes.
Yeah, we may be parsing like hairs here, but again, it's interesting to me that Matt Foley sketch gets to like that episode to 56, but Chippendales gets the Swayze episode to 50. I do think Swayze is a better episode than Applegate, so that probably does the trick there. But you think about like Debbie Downer pushing Lindsay Lohan's episode in, like those are some interesting talk there about how to parse through these episodes. So that's 60 through 56. Let's go to 55 up to 51. So at the bottom, a pretty recent episode, Donald Glover and Childish Gambino gets their double duty for Donald Glover performing as a pseudonym, Childish Gambino. But from May 2018, this is season 43, episode 19. Bill, any memories of Donald Glover hosting the show?
Not a whole lot, although I do remember loving this episode. I'm a big Community fan. So I was really thrilled to see him come back. And of course, his backstory, kind of like Aubrey Plaza's, starting out in writers' rooms and things like that, and kind of making their bones before they became famous. And another one that I think that we would be so excited to see come back and host. But yeah, nothing's coming to mind as far as anything that really stands out to put this high.
Thomas, I was such a fan of Donald Glover going back to Derek Comedy. I used to watch those videos all the time, and I was so excited that he came to host. He fit in so well. It's like at the end of 43, and like the era is starting to like go a little bit downhill. There's a lot of cameos in the cold open. I don't know that the episode fully matches the potential of Glover, but he's awesome. So your thoughts on that going to 55?
Oh, yeah, he was a natural in this episode. I remember he did one of the better kind of like physical things I had seen a host do in recent memory. It was a sketch where maybe he was a lawyer and defending somebody who got like a Jurassic Park, I think. And he did a little thing where he poured a thing of water into a glass, like so perfectly, like just the way he moved in that sketch. You could tell like physical comedy and sketch comedy is kind of really up his alley. I believe he performed This Is America on this episode as well, which might have been like the maybe the most memorable part of the episode was that performance. That was a really great hot song, really fitting song to the social climate around the time. But yeah, not quite. It was like a good, fun episode. Never occurred to me to consider it for this list though.
Yeah, I think it's a really solid one. I think probably actually most remembered for Stormy Daniels, the real Stormy Daniels making an appearance in this episode. So that definitely could have pushed it up here. I really want to rewatch this one actually, and I would like to get that opportunity now that we're past through watching the ones that made the top 50. All right, Bill. I believe this is one of your favorite, if not your favorite episode of all time. Carrie Fisher and the Blues Brothers just misses the top 50, lands at 54 here from November of 1978.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't think it made my top 50 if I recall correctly, but that's the parsing between favorite and greatest. But yes, it is one of my favorites. My first crush. I'm a big Star Wars fan and things like that. This is one I love to go back and watch at least once a year. Yeah, you get the Blues Brothers in here again. Beach Blanket Bimbo from Outer Space, an all-time classic moment with the Princess Leia hair and everything going on. And the Loud Family, another one that's really good that comes out of this. So yeah, I mean, she's a friend of the show. She's dating Danny at some point. Obviously goes on to be in the Blues Brothers movie. So yeah, I would have loved to seen her on the show more often, especially as they were doing the sequels to Star Wars. But yeah, this is an all-time great for me.
I do wish this one snuck in there. We didn't get any episodes from season 4. I think if there was going to be one, this would have been it, and it would have been nice to talk about Thomas. But how do you feel about it landing here at 54?
Yeah, season 4, the original era was kind of losing steam a little bit at that point. But this was a pretty fun episode. I think the Beach Blanket Bimbo from Outer Space sketch is the most memorable thing that happened in this episode. They leaned a lot into the Star Wars stuff, which is understandable, as they should. But it's hard. I can't raise a fuss over this not making the list, even though probably from around that time, this was one of the episodes that stood out.
Next up at 53, we got Alec Baldwin and Paul McCartney's episode from 1993, season 18. Another 18 makes the list here, very close to the top 50. So this is one that I think probably best remembered for the incredible performance of Hey Jude by Paul McCartney. I would say, bar none, top 5 musical performance in the history of the show. Otherwise, it's just a pretty solid episode all around. Anything here, Thomas, that you remember that you're like, oh, this would have pushed this one in?
I have this as a lock for me on my list. This was a really good episode. The Chris Farley show.
Oh, yeah.
Came from this one too with Paul McCartney. To me, that's like the definitive Chris Farley show. Remember when you were in the Beatles? Like Red Hooded Sweatshirt, Adam Sandler performed that on this episode. We had the Mimic soap opera digest. Like, I think it was such a great, to me, this is like a slam dunk. I had it in my top 30 on my list. And maybe I was looking at it going, should I put this higher? But I had it comfortably on my list.
Yep, it's definitely a good call. The 2 Baldwins that we ended up getting on the list was the Pavarotti one. That's the Christmas one where we get Sweaty Balls. And also, of course, the B-52s. Bill, should this one have also made it?
Yeah, probably. Again, you're talking about one iconic sketch, but I think this goes further, as Thomas already kind of alludes to here. A great cold open with the date, all the stories that were going on with Dateline at that time, and it kind of taken that right turn into it being Toonces. What else? There was the Francais sketch, which I really love from this one. Something I still use on my daughter when she comes back from French class. En français. So, yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with most of the early Baldwins, and this is another one that's right on the cusp.
At 52, we have the 3 Amigos from season 12, Chevy Chase, Steve Martin, and Marty Short, with music from Randy Newman. Getting those 3 in the building, it really feels like SNL is back in December of 1986. So, Bill, are you surprised that this one didn't make it?
No, season 12, if you told me any of them made it, I'd be fine with it. And the 2 that made it weren't even on my top 50. So this one I don't think would have been either, just because it's an uneven episode. As a 12-year-old watching this, I was enthralled because I had all these worlds colliding, having just watched the original era and seeing him and Steve and Marty play together. Marty was still kind of an unknown to me because I hadn't seen his season. But yeah, I mean, 3 Amigos was huge. And the fact that they were coming back to the show, Steve hadn't been back to the show in a long time. Overall, it's much more of a party going on as opposed to a greatest episode.
Yeah, I see our chat's also mentioning, Thomas, the Christmas Wish sketch from Steve Martin as being one of those iconic moments. Your thoughts on this episode landing at 52?
Yeah, that was the moment from this episode. Bill and I actually talked about this episode a little bit at length when I hosted the SNL Hall of Fame, and Bill was on with me for Martin Short. We got to take a look at this episode, and yeah, it's an uneven episode, and it feels disjointed because there was like a Chevy sketch, then a Steve Martin sketch, then a Martin Short sketch. So it was kind of like the 3 of them weren't really working together that night, and we had the Christmas Wish, but I didn't consider this one to make my list. There's like 2 or 3, basically every other Martin Short hosted episode I considered before this one.
Yeah, that's interesting. So we talked about Eddie Murphy, his hosting as a cast member that landed at 60. At 51, we got Eddie Murphy with Robert Plant and the Honey Drippers, the time that he comes back to host after leaving the cast in season 10, December of 1984. This one just misses the cut at 51 here. Bill, what do you think about this one almost making it?
Yeah, this was on my list. I think this is the best Eddie episode. You get White Like Me, you get the iconic Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood that's still played in holiday best ofs. So him coming back, playing with the Steinbrenner cast. I love the deli one in this one too, where you get kind of a picture of Larry David in the background too, along with him working with Marty and Billy and Chris Guest. So yeah, this was fun, and it's one of those what ifs. Like, boy, I know he's the biggest movie star in the world at this point, but what if he was in this cast with these guys? Like, how great would this season have been?
It's really true. So, Thomas, we have all 3 Eddie episodes making the top 60. This one just missing the cut of our top 50. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think the most recent Eddie episode, I prefer that one. I think it's a little better, even though this episode number 51 has the more iconic moment with White Like Me. But I think as an overall episode, the most recent Eddie does it for me. But I can see an argument for this one too. Just for maybe for one consideration is just seeing Eddie work with Martin Short, Billy Crystal, Guest, and like that cast. That's like a really neat snapshot in SNL history. That was almost similar, not quite, but almost similar to seeing Eddie perform with Will Ferrell at the 50th. It's like being able to go back and see these great performers who you don't associate with together on SNL, but they did an episode together. So I can see an argument for top 50. It probably should be. It probably should have snuck in, which it almost did.
Yeah, I think this is a great episode. It's one that I certainly did consider. I think that this is a better episode than his one in season 8. But as far as greatness, like him hosting as a cast member, I kind of lean towards that one a little bit. So it's just how you parse through these definitions. I'll give you guys the bonus one at 61. 61 was Norm Macdonald with Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, and Eminem. That's one of my favorite episodes. So that one very close to making the list here. But we will talk about all of these episodes and more when we go to our next section. So again, I mean, I hope you're enjoying this. This is going to be some nerdy stuff we're about to do, but we're gonna right now we're gonna go through the episodes that both Bill and I put on our own personal lists before the countdown that didn't make the cut, and talk through where they landed. And Thomas, you have yours as well. So if you have any that you want to jump in with, let us know. We can talk through them. But I'm going to put them up in chronological order. So we're going to go from the beginning of the series all the way through and talk through these ones. So I'll put those up on screen right now. I'll make this very big for us to take a look at. So the first one that we have here, going back to season 1, I put Madeline Kahn and Carly Simon's episode from season 1. I think that episode is an absolute classic. It does land at 74 on the list. And by the way, I got 29 right. Bill got 50. He got 24 out of 50. And Thomas, I think you also said you got 29, right?
Yeah, 20. I had 29. Yeah.
Okay, so we're all around the same. You suck, Bill. But here we'll start with this first one from season 1, Madeline Kahn and Carly Simon. I really feel like that one should have made it, Bill. I can't believe you didn't vote for it, and some of the listeners didn't either.
Yeah, I mean, I love Madeline Kahn, and this is the Baba Wawa run, right? Where with the wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, she's fantastic when she comes on, and one of the few people to get a tribute when she passes away, an actual video tribute. That's how important she was to the beginning era of the show. So yeah, it wasn't on my list, but I can see the argument for it.
That slumber party sketch where we get the girls with Madeline, like, to me, that is an iconic SNL moment where you're still trying to figure out what this show is. I feel like everything feels very fully formed for me, Thomas, in this episode. I think it's such an important episode.
Truly important. And Madeline Kahn, I think, has been a little lost to time as far as like a really great SNL host, really great early SNL host as well. And she was a friend of the show. seemingly they brought her back. So as far as early season, especially season 1 episodes, this was probably 3 or 4 that I looked at to put on my list. Didn't quite make it, but I do hold this episode in high regard.
Yeah, so that's the only season 1 that I had on my list that didn't make it. Of course, we got George Carlin, we got Richard Pryor's that we got to talk about. The next one that I have on my list that didn't make it, if we're going to move forward to season 3, I put the Miskel Spillman episode with Elvis Costello on my list. I think that is one of the coolest episodes. It's not like a good episode in terms of like sketch to sketch, but the fact that you have like the only episode in the like almost 1,000 episode series that's hosted by one of us, and yes, I'm saying like we're all grandmas. Like I think that is so cool and so iconic, and it should have been considered for the top 50. It ultimately lands at 174. Bill, am I crazy?
You are crazy because the name is not coolest episodes; it's greatest episodes. So, no, listen. This goes along with a couple other ones that we talked about through the top 50. Memorable versus greatest. I know you like to do best versus greatest. This is one of the most memorable. Absolutely, something they'll never do again. John, you and I got to talk to Connie Crawford a couple years ago. This whole contest was just fantastic. The idea of doing something like this with regular people. Obviously, they decide to go with this grandmother who loves the show, but it's much more of a Buck Henry episode than it is Miskel, and most of the sketches aren't really working as well as you would think for a top 50 episode.
Thomas, it also has Radio in
Yes.
it. I mean, that's a pretty big moment.
Yeah, you knew that what I was thinking right there. Since I have talked about Elvis Costello's performances before. I don't think you're completely crazy. I think you're maybe a little wrong, but I can see the justification for having like a memorable, kind of important episode. I don't really remember any sketches, and Miskel, bless her heart. It was cool to see a flat fan there, but I can see your reasoning, but I wouldn't myself put it on the list.
Yeah, pretty far down here at 174. Bill has an episode that landed at 384. Let's talk about Fred Willard and Devo. Of course, Devo, another very important musical guest in SNL history. Fred Willard, obviously an iconic, great comedian, but doesn't come anywhere close to the list, Bill Kenny.
No, what's happening? Boy, what's going on with these fans not remembering the great Fred Willard? I think this is a great episode. You get Stuntman, which is lost to time a little bit, but one of those great moments. The one night stand that he's the pizza delivery guy for Lorraine. And then, one of the greatest sketches in the original era, and I will fight anybody who says otherwise, the Scotch Boutique with the Scotch tape. I think that whole series was really interesting. I don't know that people would get it today because malls kind of don't exist anymore. But the idea of these kind of niche stores being in the mall and not doing what a Sears or a JCPenney's or, they're kind of just in the back there and not making any money. I thought that was such a great slice of life sketch. And Fred did a great job. So 384 is bananas.
I did like the episode, Thomas, but I don't know that it was top 50 consideration for me.
Yeah, it's a good episode. It's one of those episodes where I think the musical guest was the highlight for me. Devo is great. It's interesting because it has like an image that sticks in my mind as an early little kid. I always, for some reason, remember the Crossroads sketch with Fred Willard playing like the priest and stuff. And for some reason, that image of Fred Willard as a priest and that whole sketch stuck with me when I was a kid, for some reason, when they would do reruns and stuff. But I don't know. 384 is a little crazy, but so is having it on the list, Bill.
Right. The other one Bill had from the original era the other one Bill had from the original era that didn't make it, Buck Henry and Bette Midler, the season 4 finale. Bill, why did you put that one? It ultimately lands at 103.
This is something that when I was going through and trying to find, some of the greatest hosts, trying to find their best episode, and maybe this one isn't, but I am shocked, John, that you do not have your boy on here at all to talk about in the 50 greatest episodes of all time. One of the greatest hosts ever. But this is a very, very good episode. You get the second Uncle Roy, you get Frank and Davis and Olympia Diner, one of the better Schiller's reels with The Clones Exist. So yeah, I don't know. Probably not the most memorable Buck. I think that was probably when he gets cut with the samurai sword. But
Yeah, the band.
Yeah.
I have regrets about not putting Buck Henry in the band on mine. I just really I couldn't pick one. I think that was the problem. Like, we'll talk about which was the highest Buck episode, but I just had such trouble picking a Buck Henry episode, Thomas, to put on this countdown that I ultimately didn't put any on mine, and looks like a lot of people didn't put any on theirs.
Yeah, well, this is kind of what I was talking about at the top of the show. It's like Buck was such a great host and he has a lot of memorable moments, but they almost like happen like there's a kind of scattered throughout his 10 appearances, right? As far as this episode goes, that I think that Olympia Cafe sketch is really good. The way they ended it, with obviously like John trying to like commit insurance fraud to collect the money. They obviously like burned down the Olympia Cafe themselves and tried to collect the insurance money. So I thought that was like a really neat ending to like a memorable recurring sketch. But yeah, it's one of those things where if you've hosted 10 plus times, sometimes it's understandable that your appearances might bleed together and people might not remember which sketch happened in which episode.
Do you have any other original era episodes that you put on your list?
I considered Eric Idle. So there was an Eric Idle Joe Cocker episode. I was on with Brad and Gary on their great podcast, SNL, the early years, from the the Not Ready for Primetime Project. And we discussed this Eric Idle Joe Cocker episode. And it was really like just bringing in a Python guy, even though he had been on before. But this is where it really melded. And you have Belushi doing Joe Cocker. They did the Ruddles on that episode. It was just the overall like flow of the episode was really interesting. So that's one that I can cite right away from the early years. That for sure stood out to me.
That makes sense. From the Ebersol era, we'll talk about the episodes that almost made the list or ones that we would like to see there. First up, season 7, Donald Pleasance in Fear. I put this one on my list. I do think that this is like an iconic Halloween episode. It has the last appearance of Belushi in it and the Fear performance that you have to see to believe. And of course, it was just talked about a lot in that music documentary. This ends up at 95, Bill. I'm actually stunned it didn't come closer to the top 50.
Yeah, it's one of those iconic episodes. But what stands out other than the Belushi thing and the Fear thing? I don't know. I guess the Two Faces of Jerry is something that really is something that I like from this episode. But overall, season 7 is very, very uneven, and this is no different.
Yeah, there's a really good Christine Ebersol piece where she's singing "I'm So Miserable." It's like a good bit there. Yeah, I just the Tony Rosato piece at the end of the show, I also think is the Vic Salukin show one that's like very creepy. That's a good one. Like, I just think it's like a really important Halloween episode, Thomas.
Yeah, then this was also back when they used to have like magicians and jugglers and things like that on. So Michael Davis was on this episode as the juggler, and that was actually pretty entertaining. A little entertaining bit, a nice like slice of SNL history, I guess, having that type of act on. But when I see Donald Pleasance in Fear, to me, yeah, it's the Fear performance, then the story behind it, and how Belushi talked the show into even having a band like this, and the fans caused a ruckus and everything. And seeing Belushi on the screen for the last time is a little jarring. Like it was, seeing him on there just it really reminded me of just how much he and his brother Jim look alike. Because he looks like his brother there. And but it's memorable, but I don't quite have it in top 50 consideration.
Yeah, I think some of these episodes, I was thinking like, how can you tell the story of the show? And I think that is one of them. So, Thomas, do you have any other Ebersol era episodes that you were considering?
Let me see. Let me check my list.
While you take a look, I'll also say that I had the Eddie Murphy, Lionel Richie episode on my list that landed at 60. Bill had the Eddie Murphy, Robert Plant, and Honey Drippers episode that landed at 51. So we each had 2 of the Eddie Murphy episodes that didn't make the list. Thomas, you got anything from that era?
Yeah, you know what? The Ebersol episodes that I was looking at kind of made the list. Like Eddie coming back, like there wasn't a lot for me. Like I find the Ebersol era interesting, But as far as making a list like this, it's a really tough sell for me.
Yeah, it definitely is one that is difficult for a lot of people. Of course, there are some fascinating episodes. The way that Ebersol went after like very, very famous comedians from comedy history and brought them into the show. And of course, we do get Don Rickles onto the list here. That's an important one,
Yeah,
as well.
I had that one like top 20 on my list, the Don Rickles one.
Yeah, for sure. The season 11, of course, that we're going to get when Lauren comes back. We do get the Francis Ford Coppola one that does make the list. We'll move forward to season 12, where there's a lot of season 12 here that Bill had on his list that didn't make it. I also had one. So Bill had Robin Williams with Paul Simon and Lady Smith Black Mumbazo. I had the Three Amigos on mine. We talked about that one at 52. The Robin Williams one landed at 83. You also had Bill Murray and Percy Sledge at 313 that landed. Gary Shandling and Los Lobos was at 136, Bill. So I know season 12 is one of your favorite seasons. You have 3 other episodes that did not make the list here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Robin Williams one is his best performance when he comes onto the show. That's the famous Reagan earpiece cold open. Plus, you have the ticket line with Simon and Garfunkel, which is very, very famous as well. I think that's just one of the better episodes. I mean, again, I said 12 through 14, put a dart on the wall, and I can pick an episode, but I tried to not go too heavy with it. I think, having 4 on for season 12, or no, I had 3. Yeah. So, and the Bill Murray one, I mean, that was kind of a stamp of, I know Chevy and Steve had hosted at Christmas, but that was kind of a stamp like, okay, this cast is okay. That close to cancellation, not even 12 months earlier, and having Bill come back and kind of, give a really good episode with, what did he do in that one? He had the one more episode cold open where he owed Lauren one more episode. And then, of course, he did a Nick the Lounge Singer. They did the One Night Stand with Jan, Bill's Oscar pick. So there's a lot of good stuff here. Kind of
that Hercules
meshing.
episode, the Hercules sketch, Bill, is like, it's so good.
So good. Like this really is one that I would argue for. I can't believe that one is so far back.
Yeah, I definitely think that's one of the best episodes, by the way, I'll say, the Bill Murray one.
Yeah, and then Gary Shandling. I mean, we talked about Grodin and the Coppola. That's the other kind of outside the box episode that I really can't believe didn't make it either.
Yeah, and just to continue on with this era, and then I'll go to Thomas for his thoughts on these 12, 13, 14 episodes. But Bill, you also had Tom Hanks so you had Paul Simon's episode from season 13. That's the Christmas episode, I believe, with Linda Ronstadt. And then you had the Tom Hanks and Randy Travis one. And from 14, you have John Larroquette and then John Malkovich's episode. So all of those didn't make it either. Anything you want to say about those? Bill.
Yeah, Malkovich. Thomas, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'll go to Bill on this one, and then I'll go back to Thomas.
Okay. Yeah, Malkovich, the walk-in before walk-in, right? He walk-in so walk-in could run. How has he been forgotten to time like this? Because I think he put in these creepy, really outside the box episodes as well, which walk-in, of course, would go on to do not too long after this. Tom Hanks, I mean, we got a lot of time, so I'm not mad about that one. And the Paul Simon one is one of a famous Christmas episode. So it's kind of hard to believe that one didn't make it, but at least that's in the top 118.
Yeah, we got nothing from season 13 that made the list, a shortened season. The Paul Simon episode has the Sweeney Sister sketch. That one lands at 118, as Bill said. Tom Hanks's episode from 13 lands at 212, so very low for that one. Larroquette's at 140, Malkovich at 137. Thomas, anything from these season 12 through 14 episodes that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I want to echo my love for the Gary Shandling episode. It was such cool, like, fourth wall breaking. We didn't really see that at the time when there was like a sketch they called "Returning a Sweater," but the whole point was like Gary breaking the fourth wall, and he's like, "Hey, Jan Hooks, everybody, and Phil Hartman." And then he talks about how like he knew Phil from back in the day or something. And he does that again in this support group sketch. So it was just like a really fun, loose vibe. I'll always remember that Gary Shandling episode. Nothing from 13, just a weird short season. It's interesting that the other two that I considered from season 14 were both what Bill had, the Larroquette episode and the Malkovich episode. I think were super good. In the Malkovich episode, there was good attitudes. That's one of my favorite attitudes with the Jan and Nora. And the Larroquette, he only hosted once. So I think if he came back and hosted 2 or 3 times, we would actually remember him as like, oh, that was a great SNL host. But he's one of like maybe an underrated like one timer, I would say.
Yeah,
Larroquette hosted twice.
Did he host twice? Okay.
Yeah.
Not memorable at
strike
all,
that from the record then.
Yeah. No stress. The final episode that we'll talk about from the second golden era that's here is Bill, you had the Christopher Walken and Bonnie Raitt episode. That one lands at 67, so pretty close to the top 50 there. We saw a few Walkens on the list. Do you think this one should have been there as well after now that we've gone through some of them?
Yeah, I mean the other ones that made it were very deserving. This one has the great Tonight Show cold open, the Eternity game show, which is always one of my favorite game show parodies from this time. That was about the perfume with him and Jan. But yeah, I mean, again, kind of like Hanks, I can see how they didn't make it when so many other ones did.
Fair enough. All right, the couple episodes from the Bad Boys era that we both had on our list. So you have the George Wendt season finale from season 16 with Elvis Costello. That one landed at 64, so only 14 episodes away from making this countdown. I had the Heather Locklear finale from season 19 with Janet Jackson, which I think is absolutely one of the best episodes of SNL ever. I think it is so good in a season that things are starting to get very rough. But that lands at 139, and I think it is such a strong one there. Thomas, any memories of either Wendt or Locklear's finales?
Yeah, I remember the George Wendt one. I thought that was pretty funny. He did a Superfans. I'm a Bears fan, so it might be because of those sketches that I'm a Bears fan. Come to think of it, but there was another one in the George Wendt episode where they went through like a drive-through that I thought was kind of fun. I really liked that one. I did consider that for that era, but it didn't make my list. Season 19 is tough. People talk about season 20 as like the downfall of it, but you can see that stuff in season 9. You could see things kind of trending down big time in season 19. So I didn't really have anything in there. As far as the Bad Boys, I don't know if you consider, like, I had season 17, I had a Tom Hanks, Bruce Springsteen episode, maybe because it had the Mr. Belvedere sketch, which was my all-time favorite sketch, and it had Sabra Price's Right. But again, with Tom Hanks and with the Christopher Walken that we were talking about, it's like I'm not mad at it because there's so many Hanks and Walken episodes that you can choose from. Like, for the sake of diversity, I think it's probably good that maybe we could omit this Tom Hanks episode.
That makes sense. Yeah. I will defend the Locklear episode and say that there's a few incredible sketches in that. I always really like the Melrose Place sketch with, we got Wayne from Wayne's World in that one. The monologue is fantastic. I actually think there's a really good edition of Coffee Talk. One of my favorite sketches from Kevin Nealon is the Across the Bar sketch with him and Heather Locklear making those faces to each other. It's absolutely fantastic. Yeah. We do get Norm Macdonald as Andy Rooney having some fun as well. And of course, we end on So Long Farewell with all of the recurring characters coming in there, and that shot of Chris Farley and Phil Hartman together on stage. I really think that that's one that deserved more consideration, Bill.
I hear your argument. 19 is just a very sore spot, as Thomas kind of says. But I will say this is one of the better ones. Yes. Amazing Time Savers is another good one from that episode. Across the Bar is an all-time classic for sure. And really one of the first goodbyes. We talked about it with Spade last week in the Spade in America, but this kind of set the template for Phil was leaving. It's already acknowledged that he's one of the best of all time. So having all these people come out, Michael McKean dressed as Lenny from Laverne and Shirley because he didn't have any characters yet because he had just come on the show. I mean, if you're going to argue for something from season 19, this is the one for sure.
Let's move into the recurring character era, and we will skip season 20 and go to season 21 here, where Bill, you have Phil Hartman's return to the show with Gin Blossoms. We'll do the first few seasons. So then I have from season 22, during that run of hosts that came back, former cast members in a row, I put Marty Short's episode with No Doubt, which I think is a really good one. You have from season 22, John Goodman and Jewel. Then we got from season 23, we got Garth Brooks' episode. That's his double duty one, of course, where he's still himself, I believe, in that one. And then Steve Buscemi and Third Eye Blind in that list as well. So Phil Hartman's at 124, Marty's at 119, John Goodman's was at 351, Garth Brooks was the highest at 70, and Steve Buscemi and Third Eye Blind there at 156. Any of those episodes, Bill, you want to talk about?
Phil's return to the show. Again, Eddie coming back, people coming back and kind of putting their stamp on a new era. Billy coming back in season 12. This was another one where, season 21, we talked about Jim Carrey last week, but this was kind of the start of a good run at the end of that season where it was really clear that this cast was gelling. And he had some really good stuff here with the acting workshop. He brings Sinatra back with the leg up sketch. And as far as the Garth one, I think he was a really underrated host, even though that whole Chris Gaines thing was ridiculous. And this is one of my favorite cold opens of all time with the phone chat with Saddam and Monica and Bill Clinton. You never call me anymore. I got your beret. Like that started a really good night of television with Garth Brooks there.
I would agree. I think that episode is fantastic. Is that the one with the movie, the Lowe's movie theater sketch?
Yes.
That one, I love that sketch. So there's a lot of good ones here. Steve Buscemi, one of the all-time great weird hosts as well. So that's a good consideration for you. Thomas, anything on these episodes or anything from the, I guess, early, late 90s that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I just want to say kudos to the voters for having the David Allen Greer episode on. That I loved that episode. Wake Up and Smiles, an all-timer to me. I think that's when the new era really, in my opinion, kicked into gear, was that David Allen Greer episode. So I was really relieved when that episode was on the list. As far as that batch of seasons, I did consider the Garth Brooks episode. That was so good. Bill talked about the Clinton Lewinsky Hussein phone call. There was a funny one, Old French Whore. that was like a game show kind of thing. And I think I can remember Chris Kattan saying something like, I think my whore died or something like that. Or like,
I think my whore is dead. Yeah.
I think my whore is dead. Yeah. So Garth Brooks, really, really good host. I think, I'm not a country music fan, but I have to give it up for Garth Brooks as a host and pretty decent performances. But I think people should talk about Garth Brooks more as an SNL host.
Let's talk about the episodes that we had on our list from the late 90s and then into the millennium. So first we have from the premiere of season 24, I put the Cameron Diaz and Smashing Pumpkins episode. I think that's one of the greatest premieres in SNL history. It is pound for pound, just so great, packed with sketches there. Bill and I both had the Sarah Michelle Gellar and Backstreet Boys episode on our list. That's the finale from season 24. That one lands at 223. The Cameron Diaz premiere was at 138. Then from season 25, I put the Norm Macdonald, Dr. Dre, Snoop, and Eminem episode. I just think Norm coming back in that like all-time monologue that the writers hated, but him coming back and talking about being fired is so fantastic there. Let's just start with that section, and then we'll get to the post 9/11 episodes. So, Bill, any thoughts on those episodes?
Yeah, Cameron, that is one of the better premieres that we've ever had. She was so white hot at this point, coming off of Something About Mary. Oops, I Crapped My Pants was in this one. We get the Best Ladies Man, I think, out of all the ones. Oprah 2002. Like there's a lot of good stuff going on here. And then Sarah Michelle Gellar, like how I talk about Garth being lost to time. Sarah is too. She was a fantastic host. I can't imagine how we never got her after a certain point. There was the Zimmermans, which is, your mileage may vary. But you get
That's a good Zimmerman sketch where Sarah gets involved and at one point just like breaks and just starts yelling at them. Like it is a very strong episode.
Yeah, and Dusty's Love, which is as bizarre as Ride the Snake, right?
Right.
Which
Yeah,
one's the Zimmermans? Is that the?
That's the Chris Kattan, Sherry O'Terry, like sexual
Oh,
characters.
okay. I thought you were talking about I Drive a Dodge Stratus. I was
No,
like,
that's also
that's
a great
beloved.
Irish sketch.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, the Cameron Diaz episode, I mean, that one has Jingleheimer Junction as well, which is
Right.
like one of the
Yes.
all-time great visual sketches ever. There's a lot of good stuff there. Thomas, anything from those episodes?
Yeah, what sticks out to me, I think, is a trend around that time is the amount of talented women they brought in to host the show. So we're talking about Cameron Diaz, which I love that episode. Sarah Michelle Gellar. One episode from season 25 that made my list was the Jennifer Aniston episode with Sting as musical guest. Jennifer Aniston, really, really good host. I think people should go back and watch that episode. Jennifer Aniston was awesome as a host. They did a monologue. Her monologue was the Cat Fight Club. As of course, like Fight Club had come out around this time, and she was with Brad Pitt, so they did a take on that. There was a great runner, the Wayne Porter, Kim Plunkett. They were both running for office, but they were like stranded on a desert island. So they were running for office of like the desert island. And the Christmas urchin sketch, to me, that's like a really like Christmas classic kind of sketch. And I think Aniston was just an outstanding host, and that episode's on my list.
There's a great sketch from the Aniston episode of also her with her coworkers at a table turning around and doing a commercial direct to camera, and Will Ferrell's just yelling from behind her, being like, "Who are you talking to?" And it is a great bit there. I think maybe some of those Friends episodes get blended together since they host every season in a row, so perhaps that's a reason why. I have the first episode after 9/11, Reese Witherspoon and Alicia Keys there. I just think that opening where you get, of course, Rudy Giuliani and the New York Fire Department alongside Lorne, who comes on, is asked, can we be funny? Why start now? I think that's like such an all-time moment. And then it's like so fascinating to see how they operate with comedy at that time. I'm surprised this one didn't make the list. It actually goes all the way down to 120 on the list. Later from that season, Bill, you have Jon Stewart's episode with India Arie that lands at 98 here. And then a couple seasons later, I have Justin Timberlake's first episode, the season 29 episode, which lands at 107. We talked about a few Timberlake, but personally, I think that his debut is maybe his greatest episode, just because there was no expectations. In fact, I think there was poor expectations for Timberlake coming to host that first episode. And then he comes in and crushes it and obviously kicks off him becoming one of the greatest hosts in SNL history. So for a lot of reasons, I really love those episodes. And I think there's some good stuff here. Thomas, anything you have from this era, the pre-HD era, that you want to talk about?
Yeah, this is where the show started getting a little rough for me these seasons. I have a Christopher Walken episode from season 28. It was Christopher Walken and Foo Fighters that were the musical guest. That one had Colonel Angus on.
We did talk about that one. That one made the list.
Oh, that one did make the list. Okay.
Yeah. So that's one of those that you actually did get right.
Yeah. So that's the only one from like basically season 28 that era that I had. So
yeah, it makes sense. It's getting pretty rough around those parts.
Yeah.
But Bill, how do you feel about these episodes here?
I like your argument for the Reese one. I couldn't put it on. I mean, as far as memorable, again, this is one of those episodes that I'll never forget because, the feeling going into this episode, what SNL was going to do. Letterman had come back earlier that week. So you really didn't have any idea what a sketch show was going to be able to do. Couldn't make fun of the president, couldn't make fun of anything. But I think the Sean William Scott episode is a better overall episode as far as this particular run of shows. And JT, John, I mean, you were going to just put all the JTs in, huh?
I actually didn't put all the JTs in, but this was one I felt like should have been there.
Your argument is very sound because absolutely, I always say like the Keenan, the kid from All That becoming a huge star on SNL and being there for 20 plus years, and the guy from Backstreet Boys becoming or NSYNC. Sorry, John. Oh my goodness, the guy from NSYNC becoming one of the best hosts of all time. Two things never on my bingo card, but obviously I've come around and I love JT. Really loved his music at this time as well. So to be able to see what he was able to do, yeah, you have a strong argument for either one of those.
There's also just this all-time great Will Forte moment, the rainbow connection between Justin Timberlake and Will Forte. That's just like two of my favorite people on Saturday Night Live,
Mhm.
and it's a classic. So those are all the pre-HD sketches that you and I had on our list. We're going to continue on with the third golden era that we'll get into, where we're going to talk about some of the other episodes that just missed. So I have from season 31 the Steve Carell and Kanye West episode. I just think that one ends up being pretty iconic because it is Bill Hader and Andy Samberg's first episode. You get a lot of interesting moments. There's the Kanye West, Mike Myers thing happening there as well. That one I was not close with. That one's at 269. Right behind that one at 270, Bill, you had the season 31 episode 10. That's the first episode of 2006 with Scarlett Johansson making her debut and Death Cab as the musical guest. But the one that we both had from season 31 that I think a lot of people felt should have made this list, but it comes down to 85, is Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Paul Simon, the first time in the history of Saturday Night Live that a former female cast member comes back and hosts the show, and it is fantastic. So, Bill, anything on those episodes from season 31?
Yeah, Steve Carell gets unfairly maligned for his episodes. I think this is a strong episode. Anderson 360, where we get to see Hader do as Pacino as they're building the houses for Katrina, and of course we get all the stuff from these new cast members that are going to bring us into the third golden era. But maybe the Kanye thing pushed people off a little bit. ScarJo, like no love for ScarJo on the list at all, which is crazy to think about. Maybe the best female host of all time. You get to talk about people you didn't know what they were going to be able to do on the show. I think she's one of those. You get the first chandelier, you get Duluth Live, my Super Sweet 16. How did this not make it? And JLD, like, good on her. MySpace seminar, the start of Jeff Montgomery. Like, she was fantastic.
Yeah, Thomas, anything you got on the start of this third golden era?
Yeah, I agree with you guys on the JLD episode. That was really great, that MySpace seminar. It was just great to see like an alum come back. As an alum who maybe we thought that didn't maybe have the best time as a cast member, who came to host, and we got to see her really do well and play. Scarlett, I think Bill, with Scarlett, she has a lot of great moments, but I think too many of them were scattered throughout her appearances. I don't think there's one Scarlett episode that really stands out to me, even though Duluth Live is still one of my favorites. From 32, I do have an Alec Baldwin episode, but it's like Hanks and Walken. Like it's hard to say that that it should have made it. Like it has the carpool sketch that he did with Kristen Wiig that I always loved, the Platinum Lounge. He did a cool Tony Bennett. So there's a lot to like there that I considered. But I think the JLD one is one that I agree with you guys. It probably should be on here.
We'll talk about some other episodes from this third golden era. We got the Tina Fey and Carrie Underwood. Bill put on his list. That one lands at 86. That's the first episode after the writer's strike in season 33. Ultimately, no season 33 episodes make the list. I had Josh Brolin and Adele, as we spoke about. That one landed at 58. I also had Paul Rudd and Beyonce from season 34. That's right after that, and part of this just incredible run of episodes. That one is so good. That's the one where you get Timberlake at the desk recapping what is an episode from him would look like, and also has the Beyonce sketch, the single ladies. There's a lot of great stuff there from Paul Rudd in this episode. That one lands at 38. From season 35, Bill has Zach Galifianakis's debut on the show with Vampire Weekend. So that's a pretty good one there. Bill, anything from this third golden era that you want to talk about?
Yeah, Tina coming in and saving the day after so many months off because of the writer's strike. And the annual ad is something that's still played. I think you get Virginia Horse and Hot Balloon rides, and I Drink Your Milkshake. Zach Galifianakis, I think all of his episodes should have made the top 50, but maybe I'm biased. Him dropping by the set of all these different shows, having that incredible runner in an era where they don't do that kind of stuff, and always had an amazing monologue. So
Yeah, Thomas, anything you got from this third golden era or any of these episodes?
Yeah, there were a couple, and again from a couple talented women that I considered. So one was from season 34, the Anne Hathaway episode, which was great. But the one that really stood out to me from this era, that it's Blake Lively's episode from season 35.
Potato chip.
I really love that one. She was in the Pete Twinkle, Greg Stink sketch. They had the Kickspit Underground Rock Festival thing. The Shy Ronnie, because Rihanna was the musical guest, so Shy Ronnie was on that episode. But Potato Chip Thief is, to me, is like one of the all-time oddball Will Forte sketches. Will Forte and Jason Sudeikis. But that was in the Blake Lively episode. She was in that sketch. That was just kind of like a fun night. Blake Lively really surprised me. So I actually had the Blake Lively episode in my top 50.
And I think that one probably makes it in if Blake Lively hosts the season 50 premiere as she was supposed to. So that's just one of those things that maybe gets forgettable after 15 years. So from the late 2000s, we're going to move into the 2010s shortly, but we have Miley, or actually, we're in the 2010s now with Miley Cyrus and the Strokes. Bill had Miley's. Is that her debut hosting, I think, 273. And then you and I both have Melissa McCarthy hosting with Lady Antebellum. That's the season 37 episode 2 sketch episode. And I have a lot of episodes from season 37 that I ended up putting on this list, including Emma Stone and Coldplay from season 37, Maya Rudolph and Sleigh Bells, and Mick Jagger's episode, the very famous Kristen Wiig goodbye to the show that we get there. So for all of those episodes that we get to wrap up this era, so Miley's episode came in at 273, or as I say, Galifianakis was 75, Miley's was 273, Melissa McCarthy's that we both had was at 87, Emma Stone here 162, Maya Rudolph's 108, and Mick Jagger's at 65. Thomas, anything on these episodes?
Yeah, the Melissa McCarthy, she just brings such great energy, and she fulfilled all the promise. Like, I think that before she hosted, I think people had visions of what that episode would be like. Oh, she's going to bring in a lot of energy, and she's probably really good at sketch comedy, and she was. Like, I think she fulfilled all the promise that we thought. Emma Stone's classic. I had from 37 Charlie Day's episode with Maroon 5 as musical guest. That I love that one, and maybe because I'm such a huge Seinfeld fan, and there was like amazing Seinfeld sketches, the crime scene sketch, that one always got me with he and Sudeikis, and that's when we saw the Kings of Catchphrase Comedy was from that episode. It was just a really, really fun night, and Charlie Day, he was having steam from It's Always Sunny, and people would wanting him to host for a few years, and so that was a super fun night. Jamie Foxx in season 38 had such a really fun episode, I think, too. So I had both of those actually in my top 50.
Yeah, those are some good choices as well. Bill, I mean, Melissa McCarthy not making it onto this list, I think is kind of criminal.
It is criminal, and this is the best of the bunch. You get the Lawrence Welk, where she's Denise's other sister with the arms. Little Pound Cake. The taste test, Hidden Valley taste test, is just one of my favorites of all time. I can see the Emma argument for sure. She should have been on this list at some point. Looking back on it with the Miley one, I probably should have chosen a different one, and I'll be interested to see where her other episodes land. It's not as great. I think I had more in my head that, this was her debut. She kind of becomes the go-to musical guest, double duty person in this era. But there were better episodes from her, so I can see why that one's not quite as high.
Yeah, that makes sense. The Emma one for me, I mean, just a really good digital short. And she just like establishes herself so well. I mean, when you get to 37 and you start to see Melissa McCarthy, Emma Stone, like become a part of this universe, like it's just so exciting. A couple more episodes from Bill, the last two he had on his list. So from season 38, he had Louis C.K. and Fun. You also had Adam Driver and Chris Stapleton from season 41. Those land at 111 and 112 respectively. Anything you want to say about either one of those?
Yeah, not poor Louis, but his
you have sympathy for Louis C.K.
His legacy, because of all the terrible things he did afterwards, you can't discount how good his episodes were. And I think this one is the best of the ones that he was in. I mean, so yeah, I think there's some bias there. Probably the same idea as Kanye. Maybe that's why Robert Blake didn't make the list too, John. I don't know. But Adam Driver, like, come on, man. How is this guy not in the top 50? Like, this episode with the Star Killer Base, Undercover Boss, and Football Night in America, where they basically crush Pete into little pieces. I mean, there is so much good going on here. And when he gets his 5-timers jacket this year, people are going to look back on this episode and wonder, like, how did this not make it?
Yeah, lest we not forget that I did remove the OJ Simpson you voted for the list and didn't put on this one. But yeah, some really solid picks here. The last one for me is Fred Armisen and Courtney Barnett. That's the finale from season 41. And just to me, like, I've long said that is one of the greatest returns to the show for a former cast member. It is just like an all-time great episode from Fred. Comes in at 84. That one has the Farewell Mr. Bunting sketch as well. It's just so solid to me. Thomas, anything on these episodes or any other ones that we didn't talk about yet?
Yeah, I think season's 41, and then as we head into 42, but this is like, to me, like, really underappreciated seasons. Like, seasons 41 and 42 are, to me, like, all-time great seasons. And I had a bunch that I considered from 41. I had the Elizabeth Banks episode with Disclosure as musical guest. You had she was in a Black Jeopardy. There was a First Got Horny to You. A lot of people remember that. There was Uber for Jen. That was a Mike O'Brien piece that I thought was really outstanding. So I had the Elizabeth Banks episode from 41 actually on my list. I also had Ryan Gosling with Leon Bridges on my list. The Close Encounter we all remember. Santa Baby is, to me, like a top 2 or 3 Christmas sketch. So I actually did put Ryan Gosling on there. Fred, I considered that's maybe the best former cast member hosted episode. So I think that's a good call on Fred right there. And I agree
At least
with
to
you.
me, it was until Sandler and Eddie came back.
Yeah, true. Yeah. But up to that point it was. And I agree with Bill about Louis C.K. and Adam Driver, but not on the episodes. I have 2 different episodes from both of them on my list.
Oh, interesting.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, believe it or not, after 41, Bill and I got everything else right. So all of the modern day episodes that we voted for got on the list. Wow. I had Hanks and Gaga from 42, Sandler and Shawn Mendes from 44, Sudeikis and Brandi Carlile from 47, Kristen Wiig and Ray. Bill had Larry David, 1975. He had Mulaney and Jack White, Sandler and Mendes, Sudeikis and Carlile. He also had Pedro Pascal and Coldplay, as well as Nate Bargatze and the Foo Fighters. So all of those made the list. Thomas, any other modern episodes that you had on yours?
Yeah, the 2 that I want to shout out as far as modern episodes, or maybe 3 because I alluded to one of them. So from season 42, it was the Louis C.K. episode from that season. So that had the sectional sofa emporium, which I thought was just like so clever and outstanding. And it was just like, yeah, it was just a fun vibe. It also had that Pepsi commercial with Beck. When
I was in the building for that episode.
Were you in the building for that? Oh yeah,
I was.
Yeah, that was. And then one sketch that I liked, and it's become controversial after the fact because there was some plagiarism likely involved, but the birthday clown one. When I saw it, I thought that was just so clever. Maybe points taken away because it was likely plagiarized. But that was still just a really fun night and fun episode. The Adam Driver episode that I was talking about that's on my list was from actually season 45, the Halsey one, with the Del Taco. You had the science room, the Marion Ketchups, which tickled me. So I had the Adam Driver, and one that I think maybe I was on for one of the shows. It was the Anya Taylor-Joy episode. I had that one on my list. That was just like an amazing season finale. Every sketch to me hit. That was Beck's last episode, and it wasn't even about the host. It was just the vibe and just such a solid night. So from season 46, that Anya Taylor-Joy like really has stood with me the last few years.
Yeah, that's a great one. That was one of the best episodes to get to cover that finale, and it was a great time. All right, so up next, we're going to talk about the top 50 host list that we had last season and compare it to some of the top 50 episodes. So throughout the countdown, Bill and I were like, hey, where's this host? So we'll talk about which ones which hosts we didn't see from last year make it onto the countdown this year and where their highest episodes were. So I'll put that graphic up on screen for everybody to take a look at as we go through this list. So best way to do this. Yeah, I'll probably just keep it this way and you guys can go full screen on it. But I'll start from the bottom. So Danny DeVito was ranked the 50th greatest host in SNL history. His best episode, season 9, episode 2, lands at 303 on the list. So Danny comes nowhere close to the list. I'll continue with his bottom row. John Lithgow was 49 on our list. His best episode, season 14, episode 6. That came at 213 on our list. Then, of course, we had Anne Hathaway and Jack Black make the list at 47 and number 1, respectively, where those were their best episodes. Then we have Dana Carvey. His best episode was season 20, episode 4. So we got season 20 there. That came at 218 on the list. Paul Simon's best episode, season 13, episode 8, that we talked about that one before, 118. And then Louis C.K., we just mentioned his best episode, season 38, episode 6. We just talked about that one. That comes in at 111. So the bottom row there, Bill, anything from Louis or Paul, Dana, Lithgow, or Danny DeVito's episodes that you're surprised about?
Thomas and I, we're both, I think, going to be in agreement here about Danny DeVito. We talked about him on the SNL Hall of Fame together. That's criminal. Like, I think DeVito and Lithgow, there's that, it's been so long since they've been on the show. Danny's still in the spotlight because of Sonny, but he hasn't been back to the show. So those people get forgotten to time. I mean, Buck Henry got forgotten to time, as we'll get to later, I'm sure. But that's kind of crazy to me, seeing that how high they up. 215 with Lithgow. I mean, when we talked about him in the greatest host list, we were raving about his episodes and how underrated he was. So that kind of stands out to me.
Thomas, any major surprises for these great hosts?
Yeah, I think I agree with Bill. The DeVito one, his most recent episode, which is kind of funny to say because it was 26 years ago already, but I think that one was a pretty killer episode. I think this really speaks to almost the magic, but what a unique show SNL is, that you can have these amazing hosts who we all agree that these are great hosts, but sometimes the full episode doesn't quite hit. And then you can have a host that's kind of just okay or there, but it's an amazing episode. I've joked about this, but Linda Hamilton's episode from season 17 was really good, had nothing to do with Linda Hamilton. And then you could get a really great host, but then the writing's just not up to par that week or whatever. So I think this graphic really speaks to that. That's a big reason why this show always keeps me on my toes.
Let's continue with the next row, where we'll talk about some other hosts that came up frequently, but their episodes didn't make it here. The next one's Lily Tomlin. So her best episode was season 1, episode 6, and that one came at 159. So the 6th episode in the series was voted pretty high, but doesn't come close to the list. Then we got Jimmy Fallon's top episode came in at 19. Charles Barkley is next. That's the season 19 premiere. That one comes in at 109. So that's Barkley's first episode. That's where we saw him. We talked about Eric Idle earlier, the season 2, episode 3. That one is at 72. So 22 episodes away from getting to the list. Tina Fey's episode with Amy, that comes one in. Amy's episode with Tina comes in at 23. Then JLD, we talked about her episode. That one comes in at 85. That's the season 31 episode from JLD. And then Josh Brolin, we mentioned before, he was voted. I mean, this is coming off season 49 when we had this, but he was voted into the top. He was 37 of the greatest hosts of all time, but his episode, season 34, episode 5, comes in at 58. Bill, let's talk about the second row here. Anything you want to touch on?
Yeah, I mean, Thomas makes a great point because it is not always about the host. I was thinking about Mary Tyler Moore hosting, and how great that episode is, and it's not really about her except for a couple of sketches. So that's why we have two different lists here, right? So Barkley's episodes, yeah, he's a good host, but top to bottom, are those episodes what they should be? No, probably not. JLD probably should have made this list because again, the historical value of finally getting a female host alum after 30 plus years, and then the fact that she killed it every time that she came onto the show, kind of probably should have made her make the top 50.
Thomas, anything interesting you see here in the second row?
I'm surprised that Eric Idle's episode was that high, given what we've seen. Like older hosts maybe lost to time, or older episodes kind of lost to time. Like Lily was all the way down there, but Eric Idle, kind of sniffing the top 50. I thought he would be in the hundreds or so. So that episode. So I'm pleasantly surprised by that. And Charles, we love Charles. He's kind of a goof and he's fun on screen. But yeah, there's no real episode that realistically had any shot of making this list.
The next up, we got two one-timers here. We have Conan's episode. That one landed at 45. Peyton Manning's episode lands at 28. This is followed by Bill Murray, whose best episode lands at 79 on the list. He was 34 on the host list. His best episode, season 6, episode 12. So interesting to note a season 6 episode getting in there at number 79. Then we have Richard Pryor, who landed at 6. Zach Galifianakis' best episode came at 75 overall. That's his season 35 episode that we spoke to. Drew Barrymore, someone we haven't talked about on this list. So she came in at number 31 on the host list. She was her best episode came in at 209, and that was the season 8, episode 7, her coming in as a child to host the show there. And that is followed by Larry David, who is the 30th best host. His season 41 episode landed at 32 here, Thomas. So what do you think about either Drew or Galifianakis or Bill Murray here on this list?
Yeah, with Drew, I think if you could put together a hell of a best of for Drew. Like a lot of really great moments. She had one in particular, a sketch with Will Forte, another oddball kind of sketch with Will Forte, where they were a couple. They were doing couples counseling, and then she would poison Will Forte's character, and so they kind of had to hash that out in counseling. I thought that was really great. But yeah, there's not really a Drew episode that I would put on this list. Bill Murray, yeah, that episode from season 12 would be the one that I would have considered. And I'm surprised Zach, yeah, that might be the most surprising to me that none of Zach's episodes made the list.
Bill, what do you think?
Yeah, season 12 or season 6 for Bill. I mean, he's coming in almost as a favor to Lauren and of course to Ebersol as well. Or no, he came in for Gene. Sorry. You know, the whole bringing the cast together. You're not as good as the original cast. That was a very, very memorable episode. I think the cold open is probably the thing that sticks out from that as far as the episode itself. But yeah, the Galifianakis of it all. I mean, is he on the Jack Black trajectory as far as if he came back and hosted this year? Would we be talking about his episodes a little bit more? I mean, it's not that long ago. It's long in SNL history, but it's not like 50 years ago, like somebody like Buck Henry. So that is really surprising.
Yeah, but also he had a great bit in SNL 50. So
Exactly.
I think he's on the radar. Like he has to be that next person on that list. So yeah, definitely into the top 30 hosts of all time. So at 29, we had Dwayne Johnson, whose best episode was the season 42 finale that came in at 188. That's like the final episode for Bobby Moynihan and Vanessa Bayer and Sashir. That one comes in at 188. I think that's the one where he's like going to run for president. Then Maya Rudolph's best episode comes in next. She's the 28th host, season 37, episode 15. So that's the one I talked about earlier that I had on my list. That one comes at 108. Pedro Pascal, who was pretty high up on the host list. 27 on the host list, 27 on the greatest episode list. So Pedro has that magic, just nailed that dart perfectly. Elliot Gould up next was the 26th best host. His best episode, season 2, episode 19. That one comes in at 220 on the list. So Elliot nowhere near the top of this list. Jim Carrey's episode, we talked about last week, his best episode at 3. Dave Chappelle's episode landed at 7. That's his season 42 one. And then Lindsay Lohan, we talked about her and Usher. That episode was at 35. Thomas, anything here you want to talk about?
I continue to be baffled by the Pedro Pascal thing. Like, I like him, but the fact that he appears so highly on all these lists continues.
What countdown can we do next year for him to land?
Yeah, you could figure it out because I'm so confused. I'm so in the weeds on Pedro Pascal. I don't get it. I do have a Dwayne Johnson episode on my list at number 49. It was that season 42 finale. That had the WrestleMania promo, which I love with Bobby. The Zentrex commercial was great, but it also had one of the most brave, ballsiest sketches that we've seen in the last 10 years, the International Mad Scientist Society sketch. If you know, you know, with that sketch, I think it was super brave, and I can't believe that that episode or that sketch aired on SNL just a mere 8 years ago. So I actually had that episode squeaking in number 49 on my list.
Yeah, that's a great point. I love that one. Bill, your thoughts on any of these?
We talked so much week to week, John, about Buck not making it, and is he going to make it? And of course, he didn't make it. But Elliot's the other one, right? Like, he was so important to that original era. He was so highly regarded that he's brought in for that season 6 opener with the new cast, but doesn't really come back after that. We get him in a couple of 5-timer sketches, including the Millennium one a couple years ago. But he was still around. He still is around, thank goodness. And Ross and Monica's dad, like, every time my daughter and I would watch one of those original era, I'm like, you know who that is, right? And his episodes are very, very good. They're very Elliot Gouldy. Like, you knew what you were getting with an Elliot Gould episode. But again, kind of lost to time. So sad to see how far down he is.
Yeah, but he did get credit on the host list at 26, so a little low for him probably, but still. Moving up the list, so we're going to talk about Paul Rudd, who was 22 on the host list. His best episode comes in at 68. That's that season 34 episode, so 18 episodes away from making the list there. Then we have a bunch of hosts who did make the list. The next up, we got Candice Bergen, who made the list at 16 with her season 2 episode. Will Ferrell, season 34 episode, was the best one there at 30. Marty Short, his season 38 episode lands at 13. We spoke about Scarlett Johansson missing the list, so her season 42 episode was the best one at 164. Ryan Gosling makes the list here. His best episode from 49 lands at 38. We also have Kristen Wiig's 49 lands at 20. So, Bill, anything on Scarlett or Paul Rudd?
Yeah, 2 modern hosts. I know personally I tried to avoid too many modern episodes, so maybe with Melissa and ScarJo and Paul, that's what you're seeing here. How, if you know offhand, John, where was the Omicron episode?
Ooh, that's a good question. I wonder if that one got any votes. I will look that up while we continue on.
But I mean, listen, Paul had some very, very good episodes. Him standing in line for One Direction in that pre-tape is an all-time modern classic, and the Single Ladies, of course, as well. So yeah, I'm really surprised. ScarJo is one of my favorites of all time. I was so thrilled when she hosted the finale last year. So a little surprising for somebody who's been around so much and is married to Mr. Jost.
Paul Rudd's episode from season 47, the Omicron episode, landed at 420 on the list. So
420. All right.
Yeah, 420. Yeah, everyone was at home smoking a lot that night. Okay. All right, I want to talk about this next guy over here. Landed at number 15 on our host countdown last year. We were like, criminally low, but his episodes didn't even crack the top 50 episode list. His highest one at 93. I mean, again, I could blame myself too. I didn't vote for one, but his season 5 episode 20 was the highest one. That's the sort of like series finale for the original era. I could see why that one lands on the greatest episodes, like as the highest one, because it's the goodbye to a lot of the grace that we saw in the original era. But that is his highest at 93. Thomas, how do you feel about that?
It makes complete sense. I think that speaks to like the magic and the interesting nature of SNL to me, is because I looked at all 10 Buck episodes to see if they would slot on my list, and I'm like, I can't justify any of these on my top 50. He's like a great consistent host, but isolated episodes, like, they just kind of miss the cut. That's just like the weird sort of paradox kind of thing that we have to wrestle with when we're doing this. So I love Buck. 15 is too low for him, but I'm not mad at no episodes of his not being on this list.
Bill, what do you think?
Well, I am mad because I think it's really a shame. But Thomas's point is well taken, and I think we saw this with Steve too, until we got to the Blues Brothers episode last week, where it is much of not the same because they do different things, but there are a lot of recurring characters involved. He does a samurai every time. He does Uncle Roy 3 times. So there is some sameness to his episodes, which were always consistently great. But what one are you pulling out of the hat? And I think, like, even me pulling season 4, episode 20 out, like, looking at it, what made that one more? I just wanted to make sure he got on the list. So I think maybe that's why he kind of fell to the side for a lot of people, including you, John, Mr. Buck Henry.
Yeah, I am to be blamed, but the Buck Henry episodes sort of get bunched together. Actually, we got at 93 that Buck Henry season 5 finale. The season 4 finale that you voted for, Bill, lands at 103. Then Buck Henry the band, which in retrospect, I think that's the one I would have put on my list. That one's at 106, so pretty close together. Like all of these end up sort of like around the 90, 100 mark. And then the next one is the season 2, episode 22, Buck Henry with Jennifer Warnes and Kenny Vance. That one's at 125. And then we start to go a little bit further down the list. So yeah, that's where the Buck situation landed. The buck stops there. Okay, let's keep going. We got Eddie Murphy's episode. That his highest one was at 4. That's his 45 return. Tina Fey's episode, we talked about her and Amy. That one is at 23. Betty White's episode landed at 5. John Hamm's best episode was at 21. He was the 11th greatest host. That's his season 34 episode. Then into the top 10. So we actually have 3 hosts in the top 10 whose episodes don't make the list. We'll start with Adam Driver, who was voted as the 10th best host. His season 45 episode was the one that was the highest up there, and that one landed at 73. So Thomas, that was the one you mentioned.
Yeah, that was such a fantastic episode. I love all of his episodes for sure, and I'm glad he got close, I guess, but no cigar. For this row, I was a little, like, respectfully to Betty White, I was confused as to how she made it so high on the greatest host list. But I do have her episode number 22 on my list. Still, probably some people might say that's a little low, but I do respect that episode. A lot of it didn't totally have to do with her. It was like the magic of the night. There were a lot of people returning to 8H. But even though I had some pushback as far as Betty White's placement as a host, I like that her episode was represented here.
Makes sense. I'm going to go into the rest of the top 10, and then I'll get Bill's take on the ones that didn't make the list. So Mulaney's episode, that was at 14. That was his best episode, his premiere as a host. Then we have Melissa McCarthy, whose best episode lands at 86. That's her season 37 episode. Then we have John Goodman, who did not make the list. His best episode, season 21, episode 16. That's at 151. Emma Stone's best episode, season 44, episode 18. That's at 166. And then our top 5 does make the list. Christopher Walken's best episode is at 9. Alex is at 37. Justin Timberlake's at 11. Tom Hanks at 8. And then Steve Martin, who was voted the greatest host, had the second greatest episode, according to you, at number 2. So, Bill, anything there within the top 10 you want to talk about?
Goodman, again, I think it's the same thing. Like, and there are a couple episodes with him where he's kind of the co-host with Dan, and like, so there's not an episode where you really point to. I think maybe the most memorable moment with Goodman is the Happy Smile Patrol, but that episode's not that great. Or the monologue where he's like, "This is not a rerun." So he's losing something because he hosts 13 or 12 years in a row, and so I'm not really surprised. Emma is just a shock with the recency bias with some of these episodes, including Gosling. How she didn't get anywhere near even the top 100 is really surprising, because she has some very strong episodes, including the one that you talked about, John.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Thomas, anything on these upper echelon hosts that didn't come close to the list?
Yeah, with Goodman, Bill, the episode that I had honorable mention that I considered was the from season 15, at 89, when Katie Lang was the musical guest that had a Wayne's World, the anal retentive chef, the referee Pittman show, which I think is some of Goodman's like best work. That was a great sketch. So that was the one Goodman out of all his times hosting that I considered. And Emma Stone, I looked at her season 42. What an amazing season, by the way, season 42. But I looked at her episode from that season, the theater showcase that had Wells for Boys, the great Julio Torres piece. So those were the two. But yeah, I'm not totally shocked, because I didn't even have Goodman or Emma Stone in my top 50. And Steve Martin, I only considered one of his episodes, and it was the one, the amazing episode that made it. He's just consistent. We love him on screen, but that doesn't mean that an entire episode's going to come together and make magic. So that's the one Steve Martin episode that I actually like considered.
So we're going to put up a bunch of graphics coming up that our amazing marketing team put together. We're going to end up putting these all on social. So there's a lot of information on these in case you don't get to read everything on the podcast here and you don't want to pause. Like, don't worry. We're going to put these up in a few days on our social so you could take a look at them. And I'll talk through this information, Bill and Thomas, in case you can't read everything that's on here so that I could tell you guys what we're looking at. But there's a little bit of a distinction I want to make here where we talked about the top 50 episodes. So now I want to talk about the highest SNL episodes ranked for every member of the Five Timers Club. So this is a little bit repetitive, but essentially most of the Five Timers that we've talked about here are on the list that we've discussed so far. There's some other Five Timers we haven't talked about yet, and it's interesting to think about where they landed and what their highest episodes were on the list. So first up, Woody Harrelson is a Five Timer that didn't make the top 50 list, but he's somebody who's hosted the show 5 times. His best episode, season 40, episode 6 with Kendrick Lamar. That's a great episode of Saturday Night Live and one to consider. Bill, any thoughts on Woody Harrelson's top episode landing at 165?
Oh, Woody. Did you ruin your reputation too much the last time you were on? Yeah, that's really interesting. That is a great episode with Kendrick Lamar. I think some of his early episodes are also very good. They were doing a lot of Cheers people coming in. Obviously, we get Kirstie Alley and Ted Danson. So does he get lost in the mix there? I don't know. The Kendrick one probably should have made it, though.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I really think that is a very solid one. Thomas, anything you think of when it comes to that Woody episode? Thomas, you're muted. I just want to make sure we can get you in.
Yeah, no, Bill brought up a great point. I think Woody just rubbed people the wrong way a little bit, didn't he? He was talking about like the vaccine or those around. Yeah, and I think that really dinged him. And I don't remember if it was specifically was the Kendrick Lamar episode where it was like the big, like they let off with the giant Cheeto sketch, or was that a different one?
I remember that now.
That might speak to like some of his appearances might blur together for me a little bit, even though I always enjoyed him on screen. So I'm not necessarily surprised. And actually, I'm a big Kendrick Lamar fan, so I was focused on like wanting to see Kendrick that episode too.
Yeah, I think this one is the new marijuana policy one. That's the one where like he walks outside and it's like freedom. And then there's the football speech that we get where Keenan is like going through CTE and then like does that like incredible thing in the locker room. There's the young tarts and old farts sketch as well. That's like and a campfire song. Is that the apples one? I think that's the one about apples. And then there's a famous last call with Woody and Kate McKinnon in that one as well. So very solid stuff across the board. Other Five Timers that we have not talked about yet. Ben Affleck is a Five Timer that never gets talked about. His best episode lands at 187. That's the season 38 episode with Kanye West. I think is that the finale from 38, Bill? I think that is that one.
I believe so. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that one there. Ben's episodes, I mean, he was a pretty popular host in the 2000s, but one that's not so remembered to time. And then I think the only other Five Timer on this list that received like just a few votes, Jonah Hill. Best episode, season 33 and season 37, received a few votes. That's what RV is on this, received some votes, but not enough to be like ranked up very high. So we did cover most of the Five Timers, Bill.
Yeah, we got most of them. Jonah and Ben kind of fall into that same category of their episodes really blend together. I mean, other than the Betty Hanna one with Jonah that he did all the different times that he came on, I couldn't name 5 sketches that Jonah was in. So that really kind of speaks to that. The Ben Affleck, the one that really sticks out to me when he did his Keith Olbermann impression, which I don't remember what episode that was off the top of my head, when Keith was hosting a show on MSNBC and he was screaming into the camera from different angles. But again, like that's just, and both of them have not been back recently. So they're suffering from 2 different sides of the sword there.
Yeah, that was from a season 34 episode. This season 38 episode, I think this is the last episode for Bill and Fred and Jason, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that tracks. That's the finale there. Okay, so most of the five timers we did cover that cracked the top 50. Let's move ahead and let's talk about. We talked about the five timers. Let's talk about the one timer. So this was a big theme that we saw here on the countdown. So one time host that made the top 50. So we had Betty White landed at 5, Richard Pryor at 6, Francis Ford Coppola's episode was at 10, Sandler's episode was at 12, Rickles at 22, Pedro Pascal 27, Payton at 28, Sudeikis at 31, Grodin at 33, McFarlane at 36, Shatner at 43, Conan at 45, Michael Jordan at 49, and Swayze at 50. So a lot of one-timers land in the list. The next one-timers to just miss the list, Carrie Fisher, we mentioned her episode at 54, Donald Glover at 55, Norm's episode, I said at 61. Here's the ones that we didn't talk about necessarily where they landed on the list. Kyle MacLachlan was the next one-timer at 65. That's the season 16 premiere. Fred Armisen's finale that I spoke about earlier, that one was at 84. And Thomas, Anya Taylor-Joy, this is where she landed, 91 on the list. So there's some other one-timers that came close.
Hey, I love seeing Anya and her episode on there. I'm glad I felt an energy during the show. I felt an energy post-show talking about it. So I'm glad it's represented. I have that Kyle MacLachlan episode, number 41 on my list. So that Kyle MacLachlan episode made my list. I don't know if I'm biased. That's the first episode I remember watching live as it was airing. That was, I'm dating myself. That's September of 1990. And I was watching SNL live for Kyle MacLachlan. That had the Twin Peaks sketch, which was really great. Like maybe my favorite Sprockets. The Bad Idea jeans came from that episode. So I think it was a really great episode. Maybe sentimentally, I might have slid it into my top 50, but the Kyle MacLachlan one, I'm glad to see it get some recognition too.
Bill, anything you have on these one-timers?
I'm happy to hear some SNL stats season 46 love, right? We killed ourselves that first season, John, doing all those episodes and not one bit of love. So at least Anya's getting a little bit here. The Kyle episode, Twin Peaks sketch that Thomas is talking about, famously talking about how they had only 2 women in the cast. So, we've come a long way.
And that was Chris Farley's first appearance, Bill?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. That's it's a very interesting episode, like you said, with not many women around, but it is setting up an era that becomes very fascinating. I'll read out some of the other one-time hosts with their episodes that got some votes. Donald Pleasance, Jon Stewart, Andy Samberg's episode, Stevie Wonder, Lin-Manuel Miranda, Billie Eilish, Natasha Lyonne, Sam Rockwell, Harry Styles, Keegan-Michael Key, Elizabeth Banks. That's one that Thomas brought up. That one got some votes. Keke Palmer, Gary Shandling's episode, Bill did get some votes. Heather Locklear for me. Val Kilmer's episode, Peter Dinklage, Joan Rivers, Kate McKinnon, Ralph Nader, Aubrey Plaza's episode, Charlene Tilton from season 6 did get some votes, Robert Wagner, Strother Martin from 5, Tim Robbins, Miskell Spillman got some votes, Macaulay Culkin from 17, Charlie Day from 37, Chris Pratt, the season 40 premiere, and Gary Busey's episode from season 4 also got some votes overall. So those are the one-time hosts that did receive some votes here in these in the countdown. All right, let's keep going. Let's talk about alumni. So we'll talk about former cast members and where they landed and their highest episodes here on the list. So as I pull it up, the ones that did make it, we had Eddie Murphy, who had his highest episode was at 4. Sandler's highest was at 12. Marty at 13. Jimmy Fallon at 19. Kristen at 20. Tina and Amy were both at 23. Will Ferrell at 30. Jason Sudeikis at 31. Jimmy Fallon at 32. Bill, this was one of those questions. I asked you how many former cast members are going to end up on the list. These episodes are ones that just missed the list. So Chevy Chase's highest episode at 52. That one, very close. That was the Three Amigos one. Bill Hader's was at 57. Of course, we had another couple of Eddies that came close at 51 and 60. Norm Macdonald's was at 61. Marty Short had another episode that almost made the list, and that's Marty Short and Hosier from this last season. That was the Christmas episode. That one was at 64. Tracy Morgan at 70. His highest episode with Demi Lovato from season 41 was at 70. Bill Hader's other episode with Arcade Fire at 76. That was from season 43. 73. Bill Murray and Delbert McClinton, that's the season 6 episode, came in at 79. Steve and Marty from season 48, hosting together with Brandy Carlisle, that was at 82. And then we spoke about Fred Armisen's at 84. So Bill, these were all the ones that we were hoping would get close there for you to get that overall. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Norm probably should have made it. He wasn't on my list. He was on yours. That's a very memorable episode considering what had just happened to him as far as getting fired from the show. Tracy coming back after his horrific accident just about 6 or 7 months before this. That was a very special episode. And we've already talked about Bill Hader and Bill Murray. Like these are all people who were definitely worthy of consideration. We always get so excited about alumni episodes. Sometimes they just don't hit. But only Chevy's highest episode is 52, John. How did that happen? Isn't he one of the greatest hosts of all time?
Did I? I don't think we talked about him in the 5 timers. But yeah, that's interesting. Thomas, anything on the alumni here?
So did Martin Short's episode from season 22 make the list? Do I have it wrong in my records?
That one did not make the list. No.
Okay, so I have his Christmas one in 2012 11th on my list, but I have number 21, his other Christmas one from 1996, and we haven't even talked about that. I love that episode. Like amazing energy with the monologue, Celebrity Jeopardy, Martha Stewart topless Christmas. He did a Ed Grimley. I love that episode. One of my favorite episodes from an alum. So I wanted to show that one some respect. And I had been lukewarm at best when Kristen Wiig would return to host. Every time she would return, I'm like, okay, I know what we're gonna get. We're gonna get some, it's gonna be uneven. Yeah. Her season 49 episode, I was so happy it was on this list. That episode blew me away. And that's coming from, like I said, someone who was a little resistant to Kristen coming back to host because I didn't think I would like the episode. I had it easily, comfortably in my top 50. So like that episode, one of the better ones of the last few years.
I agree with everything you're saying. I voted for that one. I also voted for the Marty season 22 episode as well. Some other alumni episodes that got some votes. Tina Fey, Carrie Underwood. Bill had that one on his list. That one got some votes from season 33. JLD, we spoke about earlier. Andy Samberg as well. Maya Rudolph's episode from 37. Phil Hartman's from 22 also got some votes. Tina and Arcade Fire, that one from season 39. The premiere got some votes. Will Ferrell's episode, his first return in season 30 with Queens of the Stone Age, got some votes. Maya and Vampire Weekend from season 49. Also Kate and Billie Eilish from 49. Jimmy Fallon's other episode with Harry Styles got a few votes. Amy Poehler and Katy Perry, that's her first time hosting in season 36. Bill Murray and the Spinners from season 7. Tina and Nicki Minaj, season 43. That one had like a shit ton of cameos. Dana Carvey from season 20 with Edie Brickell, and then Dana and also the Wallflowers from 26 got some votes. Chris Rock and Prince from 40. JLD's other episode from season 32 with Snow Patrol got some votes. Phil Hartman and Jim Blossoms, we talked about that one from 21. Pete Davidson's return in season 49 after the writer's strike in 2023 with Ice Spice got some votes. Will Ferrell and Usher from 2012. Kristen Wiig and Vampire Weekend from 38. Chevy Chase and Queen from season 8 did get some votes. Michael McKean from season 10, even though he wasn't a former cast member at the time, did get some votes. Bill Murray and Percy Sledge from 87. Bill mentioned that one earlier. Damon Wayans' episode from season 20 had a few votes. We got Dana Carvey and Dr. Dre from 22. Chris Rock and the Wallflowers from 22. Season 23, Chris Farley's episode with Mighty Bosstones, that actually did get some votes. And then Bill Murray and Lucinda Williams also got some votes from season 24. Okay, athletes. Let's talk about some athletes that come in and host. This is a fun category to get into. So we had a couple athletes on the list, including Peyton Manning's episode that landed at 28, Michael Jordan's at 49. We spoke about Charles Barkley at 109. 183 was Dwayne Johnson's episode. So we're going to count him as an athlete as well for this, wrestling star. We also had his episode as The Rock from season 27 at 219. Then Billy Martin with Angelica Houston at 233. Chris Everett's episode landed at 234. And then also receiving some votes were Tom Brady's episode from season 30, Travis Kelce's from 48, Joe Montana and Walter Payton from season 12, Wayne Gretzky from 14, Michael Phelps, the premiere of season 34, Dwayne Johnson's episode from 34 as well, and The Rock, as he was known at the time, for season 25, all got some votes, but not high enough to really get into the rankings too much there, Thomas. So athlete episodes, do you feel like the two that made it, MJ and Peyton, were the right ones?
Yeah, I think Peyton Manning's episode, like almost decidedly, we should all be able to agree that that's the greatest athlete hosted episode of all time. And I don't think it's particularly close, honestly. It's just such a fun night. I know how much you love that episode too, John. That's, yeah, Peyton Manning. Jordan, I had honorable mention. It wasn't because of Michael Jordan either. That was just like a really fun episode. And I'm really partial to Schmidt's Gay as like just one of the great pre-tapes, commercial spoofs of all time. I think, the voters got that one right. Athletes just understandably not the best host. I think Travis Kelce did an admirable job as host. I think LeBron was a pretty good host, maybe a little uneven episode, but I think he was pretty good, like on camera, and he seemed comfortable for the most part. But yeah, I think Peyton Manning like decidedly like has the best episode.
Bill, what do you think about these athletes that made the list and ones who didn't?
Okay, two that are egregiously missing here, John. OJ, what happened?
I know he's your guy.
That's insane. Like that was such a great episode where he was going to kill that guy. And never mind. He was. Go back and watch it. But Johnny Mosley, where's Johnny Mosley? How
Mosley.
terrible was that episode?
Was Nancy Kerrigan? Did you mention Nancy Kerrigan, John?
Oh my goodness!
No, did not get any votes.
Deion Sanders, no votes.
No,
Not
Deion. Oh,
what
wow.
an illustrious list of athlete hosts that the show has.
This could be a fun summer countdown, John, if we just did athletes. The Joe Montana Walter Payton one is fun. The only problem with that one is that it's kind of like the Three Amigos one where they're not in sketches a lot together, but the Joe Montana inner monologue of going upstairs to masturbate is one of those that just lives in my head. Wayne Gretzky, another good one. Chris Everett, underrated. I think that's a great cold open. With her, she was supposed to be, Miss Nice Girl, and she goes into the locker room and starts throwing stuff around. I don't know. The rest of them, Tom Brady, not a great episode, not a great season. It'd be interesting to see what if him and Peyton hosted together, like now that they're both retired and doing their thing. Like that would be a fun episode to see.
Can you guys imagine if right now, like Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen did a sketch where they said, I'll be upstairs masturbating? How viral would that go?
Oh my goodness.
Now. Because in '87, Joe Montana was like
Travis Kelce did that. I feel like that would do pretty well.
Yeah, completely. That'd be the equivalent. If we had social media in '87, Joe Montana would have went super viral for that sketch.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Agreed. All right, Bill. So I asked you prior to, or at the start of the countdown, I said, how many premieres are going to make this list? You nailed it with exactly 5 landing on the list. Let's talk about the ones that almost made the list. So the next closest premiere was Kyle MacLachlan's at 65. Then Ryan Gosling's season 43 premiere was at 99. Charles Barkley, we mentioned his season 19 premiere at 109. Adam Driver, Kanye West from 44 at 115. Reese Witherspoon, the one post 9/11, that was at 118. Cameron Diaz at 136, just criminal. Tina Fey is at 140 from season 39. Steve Martin's season 3 premiere is at 150. Season 10 premiere with no host and music from the Thompson Twins, that was at 160. Amy Poehler's season 36 premiere at 194. Chris Pratt's at 197 from season 40. The season 25 premiere with Jerry Seinfeld and David Bowie was at 207. Woody Harrelson's premiere from season 45 with Billie Eilish was at 215. And then Rob Lowe's premiere was from season 26. That one was at 226. So Bill, you picked 5. You got 5. Were they the right 5?
Mostly. I think the Adam Driver one, as I already spoke about, should have made it in. Boy, we just we're trying to make this Gosling thing happen, aren't we? That's surprising that that's so much higher than some of these other ones that we're talking about. As we know, premieres hit and miss, especially in recent years, where it's almost as if they're like, you're just going to enjoy the show because you missed it. So let's throw this at you. But back in the day, I mean, getting a Steve Martin in season 3, that was a big deal. Like Amy Poehler coming in at 36 for her first gig. And I think that was a really good one, too, because you get the whole Katy Perry of it, where she's coming off the Sesame Street controversy, and they address that in the Bronx Beat. And Seinfeld, we talked about one of his episodes, but I think the season 25 one coming off of the 25th anniversary special is a very good one, too, with David Bowie. Bowie, Bowie.
Thomas, any premieres you feel like are in the wrong order here?
Man, if Pedro Pascal's episode was a premiere, that would be like the greatest of all time, like 100%. Um, I think I have Tom Hanks actually at that episode. I have number 7 on my list. I thought it was really too low, and it's hard to quibble. Like number 24, still, still a great position, and also being the top season premiere is still like a nice honor. But I still think like I think it was easily that's one of the first episodes that came to my mind when I knew we were doing this exercise. It's like, where am I going to put that amazing Tom Hanks episode? But I have no real true quibbles with anything here. I have a soft spot for Ryan Gosling. So Bill, I don't know what we're gonna do to mend this situation, but I think Ryan Gosling he should be a little bit higher.
Okay. All right. So that's where the premieres ranked. One thing I didn't ask you about, Bill, but I had regrets not doing was the holiday episodes, which were just littered in this countdown. So we had so many, including the number 1 spot, which went to Jack Black's from season 31. Eddie's from 45 was at 4. Justin Timberlake's from 32 was at 11. Marty's from season 38 was at 13. Candy's from season 2 was at 16. Jimmy and Justin from season 39, 19. Tina and Amy's from 41 was at 23. Jimmy and Michael Bublé was at 32. That was from season 37. Alec Baldwin's from season 24 was at 40. Then we had William Shatner's from season 12 was at 43. And that's just like the ones that made it. There was a bunch of close ones too. Eddie Murphy's from season 10, as like we said, just missed the list at 51. We have Eddie's from season 8 at 60. Marty from this past season at 64. Then Steve Martin and James Taylor from season 17. That one was at 80. So in the top 80, you have like a ton of Christmas episodes. Paul Simons from 13, we mentioned at 122. Candice Bergen from the first season, that one was at 135. Kate McKinnon's from 49 was at 156. Miskell Spillman, 174. And then Bill Murray and the Spinners at 204. So, Thomas, it's just so fascinating to me how many Christmas episodes made this list.
Yeah, there's a different vibe for those Christmas episodes every year. That's something that we as SNL fans look forward to. I think the show knows that. Lorne knows that. It seems like they go out of their way to make these episodes super special. And I love that almost every year, I think they cash in on our excitement, right? Like we see a pretty like fun Christmas episode almost every season. And so I'm not surprised that there's so many on here. I have from my top 3 are all holiday episodes. That I have the Candice Bergen one with Frank Zappa, number 3, and then the Jack Black one, number 2, and Richard Pryor, number 1. But all of those are like, I guess Richard Pryor wasn't technically, but his was in December, like December 13th. So there's like something about that. Maybe, I don't know, stretch of like the cast knows that they're about to go on holiday break. So the writers do too. So they're just like throwing the kitchen sink at things, but they seem to really cash in on these holiday episodes.
I just think they become some of the most memorable episodes for people. They're home with their families, watching them together, and just the memories of watching them stand out. Bill, how do you feel about this?
Yeah, we definitely realized early on, John, that we had missed the opportunity to talk about that because we saw it happening in real time with the ones that made the top 50. Yeah, I mean, this is the cameos in a good way, right? This is when we get those, shots of Tom Hanks standing there and he doesn't say a word, or you get a shot of Tina having a wine with Lorne and doesn't say anything. It's not about like, look at me. It's about, oh, look who's in the building. This is really interesting. It really is the party, John, your old line about this is the party that we all want to be invited to. And that this is the episode that really brings that home.
Yeah, I will give credit to Rich Tackenberg. That is a Rich Tackenberg line, so that
Yes.
I do employ sometimes. But I agree. Yeah, that is what that night is all about. So 10 holiday episodes in the top 50, 14 in the top 80. Just some crazy stuff. Other holiday episodes that got some votes. Rosie O'Donnell's from 22, Danny DeVito's from 25, Al Gore's from 28, Hugh Laurie from 34, Elliot Gould from 4, Kristen's from 46, the Omicron episode from 47, Austin Butler from 48, Ellen DeGeneres from 27, Dennis Quaid from 16, Sally Field from 19, and Matt Damon from 44. So let's go to finales. Let's talk about season finales. This is the one that maybe less than we thought would make the list, Bill. I think you ended up having an interesting prediction there. You said that 6 would be there. We only got 3 ultimately in the top 50. Those 3 were Jim Carrey's from 21, which landed at 3. Will Ferrell's finale from season 34 lands at 30. Timberlake's from 36 lands at 42. These are the finales that did not make it, that were pretty close. George Wendt from 16 was at 63. Mick Jagger's from season 37 was at 66. Steve Martin from season 14, that was at 72. Fred Armisen's was at 84 from 41. Anya Taylor-Joy, we spoke about, from 46, that was at 92. Buck Henry season 5 finale at 93. Buck Henry season 4 finale at 96. Andy Samberg season 39 finale was 103. Natasha Lyonne from 47 was at 113. Buck Henry season 2 finale 134. Locklear from season 19 at 139. Christopher Walken from season 26, that was at 180. Ben Affleck, Kanye West season 38, we talked about that one, at 182. Dwayne Johnson and Katy Perry from 42 at 183. Sarah Michelle Gellar and the Backstreet Boys season 24 at 227. And then Angelica Houston and Billy Martin from season 11, that one at 233, Bill, the famous fire episode. So what do you think about where the finales landed?
Yeah, this is really the only one I got wrong. And I think my thinking was, I definitely thought George Wendt was going to make it, because I think that's a fantastic episode, and it got close. But I also thought that this is where Buck might sneak in. I thought we'd get at least one Buck. So I kind of had the ones that did make it in my head, plus the George Wendt, plus hopefully one Buck. Didn't happen. Yeah, I mean, there's special episodes. The Mick Jagger one kind of surprises me. I guess that's all about Kristen's goodbye and that how famous that is. I don't know that the episode itself outside of that is that great. So seeing that so high is kind of surprising. But as I said earlier, I'm in agreement with you on the Heather Locklear, Natasha Lyonne, great ending to a great, kind of a resurgence for the show in season 47.
Yeah, we also get Lazy Sunday 2 in that one. I think I said Anya Taylor-Joy. The graphic says 92, but she was at 91. I'll fix that before we post on socials. Thomas, other finales that got votes, season 40 from Louis C.K., season 50 from Scarlett Johansson, the last episode we saw, season 30 from Lohan, 35 from Alec Baldwin, 49 from Gyllenhaal, 18 Klein, 17 Woody Harrelson, and 27 Winona Ryder. Anything you have on the season finales, we really only got 3 in the top 50. So for an episode that gets pretty hyped, not a lot of votes.
Yeah. Sometimes it seems like it ends in a whimper, right? I'm a little surprised that the Billy Martin Angelica Houston one didn't. I don't think like sneaking into the top 50 is a bit much, but I'm surprised it was as low as it was, just because of the historical significance. Like, that's a moment that people remember. So I thought that might have been enough to put it higher, but probably not a great episode overall, much like the season in general. So that makes sense. I think the Fred Armisen episode should have been on the list. The more I think about it, just the excitement for bringing Fred back, and the episode pretty much delivered on it. We got a really one of my favorite Lonely Island pre-tapes, Finest Girl, was in that episode as well. That was really fun to see. And Farewell, Mr. Bunting, which is one of the more shocking, hilarious sketches that I could remember watching live.
So many good things happening in that episode, and I completely agree with you. I wanted that one to make the top 50. Okay, let's go to Double Duty. So we'll talk about some of the Double Duty episodes and where they landed here on the list. We got a few Double Duty in here. Justin Timberlake's season 32 episode was the highest at 11. We had Sigourney Weaver from season 39. It was sort of like, it is Double Duty, but it sort of like had Buster Poindexter there, but that one's at 39. Justin Timberlake's season 38 episode at 44. Here's the Double Duty that missed the list. So Donald Glover, Childish Gambino at 55. Mick Jagger's at 66. Garth Brooks, we talked about, at 69. Lady Gaga's from this past season, that was at 81. I thought if there was a season 50 episode that could make this list, it wouldn't have been Jack Black, it would have been Gaga, but it is what it is. 81 there. Stevie Wonder from season 8 at 106. Timberlake season 29 episode, that one I really vouched for, that was at 108. Billie Eilish's from 47, that one was at 112. Harry Styles from 45 at 128. Lily Tomlin season 1 episode 6, 172. Timothy Chalamet 178, that was from this past season where he performed as a musical guest. Crazy stuff there in season 50. Then we got Ariana Grande from 41, that was at 205. Ray Charles from season 3 at at 237. Lizzo from season 47 at 246. Britney Spears from season 25. That one's at 249. And then 250, Bruno Mars, season 38. Very low for Bruno Mars. That was a great episode of SNL for a double duty host. We talked about him a lot, Bill. So any surprises here?
Very low for Bruno, very low for Britney too. Maybe another one that's kind of a victim of how they've fallen off a cliff, in a lot of different ways. But those episodes that she hosted were very good. And then that season 25 stands out for me. Billie Eilish's episode, I don't think we talk about that episode enough. I think that's maybe the best episode of season 47. She just killed it. I think she should be the Miley Cyrus of this generation going forward as far as people who come in. Obviously, she was a musical guest last year, but she was a great host. So her coming in that regard. Stevie Wonder, if you're going to get another Ebersol in here as well, would have made sense to see that move up just a little bit.
Thomas, anything you got on these double duty hosts that you see here?
Yeah, Bill took the words out of my mouth with Billie Eilish. I thought that episode was fantastic. It was surprise, so much fun. The pre-tape that she did with Kate as like the weird neighbor is it just, I still have fond memories of that. Brittany, there was a time where some of those sketches that Brittany was in and her appearances as an SNL like got a lot of attention, and I'm surprised that now those episodes have been lost to history. Her appearances on SNL have kind of been lost to history, but I definitely agree with that. And the Lizzo episode's number one in my heart because I was in the audience for that, my only time at SNL. So I'll always look at that. I can't look at that Lizzo episode objectively because I had such a blast at that episode. So number one, Lizzo.
That makes sense. I agree. Brittany and Bruno, criminally low here. Other double duty episodes getting some votes. Dolly Parton from 14, Bad Bunny from 49, Paul Simon from season 2, episode 8, then Gaga from 39. Season 16, that was with Sting, with January of 91. We had Garth Brooks's episode also from 25. Taylor Swift's episode, I'm surprised, didn't come close to the top of the list. Season 35. Drake's 2 episode from 39 and 41 got some votes. Chance the Rapper's episode from 45 got some votes as well. Jack Harlow from 48. Desi Arnaz from season 1. Frank Zappa from 4. And Miley Cyrus's from 39 also got some votes there. So those are the double duty ones. Another thing that came up a lot, Bill, is like recency bias. So episodes from the last 10 years that got on the list. So I want to talk about those for a second. Which ones actually made it on here due to recency? So let's talk through these. So the ones from the last 10 years that made this list: Eddie Murphy's from 45, Chappelle from 42, Hanks 42, Sandler 44, Mulaney 43, Bargatze 49, Larry David 41, Kristen Wiig 49, Tina and Amy 41, Jack Black 50, Pedro Pascal 48, and then Jason Sudeikis 47, Gosling 49. Those are the ones that all made this list that were from the last 10 years. The ones that came close to making the list from the last 10 years, Glover from 43, that was at 55. Mulaney and Thomas Rhett, that's the one that I think Bill and I both felt should have made the list from Mulaney. Season 44, episode 14, that was at 62. Marty Short from this past season was at 64. Tracy from 41 was at 70. Adam Driver from 45, that was at 73. Bill Hader and Arcade Fire, 43, that was at 76. John Mulaney and David Byrne from season 45, that one was at 77. John Mulaney, LCD Sound System from 47, that one was at 78. And then Lady Gaga from this last season at 81. So, I mean, did we overdo it with the recency stuff, Bill, or do we hit the right balance? How do you feel?
There's a little bit too much recency, I think. But I mean, again, we're talking about voters of all ages, people who might have come into the show in the last 5-10 years. They haven't had a chance to go back and watch Buck Henry or season 12 or season 16. So I'm not mad at most of this. Mulaney already getting the Buck Henry treatment of his episodes feel too samey? Because how there's so many bunched together here that probably should have made. Yeah, the Mulaney Thomas Rhett one is the one that seems criminally underrated here, not having made the list. I would swap that out with Gosling in a hot second.
Thomas, do you think there was too much recency bias for this list ultimately?
It seems at the surface like there is, but there's only one episode in the top 50 that I have an issue with. I'm sure you all know which one by now. I'm looking at you, number 27. But But everything else, like I could justify all of those from 38 down to Eddie Murphy's at number 4. I could justify all of those being on the list. So I don't think that there was as much as it might seem on the surface. You know what episode that I loved that actually squeaked on my list? It might surprise people. It was the Kieran Culkin episode from season 47. I thought that was a great one. I don't think there was a dud all night. I thought there was some really strong stuff. So I had the Kieran Culkin episode from 47 sneaking in.
Yeah, I just think it gets overshadowed by Sudeikis, but otherwise, that one was fantastic as well. So really good run. And I think that if Culkin hosted in season 48 like he was supposed to in May, we probably have better memories of that episode as well. So that's one of those that we never ended up getting retribution on for him coming back. Okay, final thing we're going to do here tonight. So one of the things that got talked about a lot was which seasons made the list and which episodes from each season were the best. So final thing we'll look at here is the seasons. So this is going to be a chart that is definitely worth looking at on our socials when we put it up, but which seasons episodes were ranked the best. So I'll tell you which seasons had the most episodes voted for and which seasons had the least episodes voted for. So receiving 15 episodes received votes for the countdown. Seasons 1, I'm going to say that was 18, 47 and 49 all got 15 votes on the list. Not receiving a lot of votes were episodes from season 6. Season 28 actually only had 2 episodes receive votes. Very interesting stuff there. And then there was a few like 5s, like 10, 11, and 13 only got 5 episodes, unless 13 was a shortened season. But if you look through here and you start to think, okay, like which eras popped, which episodes got the most on here, you'll see in yellow the top 50 episodes that got on. So those are the ones that made the list. Silver is our top 100 episodes, brown top 250, and then red overall receiving votes. Bill, we talked a little bit about seasons throughout the countdown, but any major surprises in terms of like where seasons landed?
Well, we dodged a bullet with recency bias, I guess, right? With 15 from 49. That's very interesting to think about what episodes might have been on that list. Yeah, I mean, I think the 2 seasons the 3 seasons that stuck out to me that didn't get any votes in the top 50, season 4, season 13, season 33. Those are the 3 that really, and 13 is kind of hurt by the fact that it's a short season, but every one of those episodes is a banger. So that's really surprising. Season 4 is kind of on the downslide from the golden era, but there are some very good episodes there. Glad to see they got at least 13 episodes considered. And then 33 only getting 6 episodes considered. That's right in the middle of that.
I think they only had 13 episodes in that season, though, I believe. So
right, yeah, another one that's affected by that. So yeah, I mean that's really kind of what sticks out. Pretty even when you look at some of these, a lot of 11 through 15 episodes getting some love.
Yeah, exactly. Thomas, anything interesting to you that you see on this chart?
Yeah, I think it confirms a little bit what I've always thought. Like when you start at seasons kind of 41, 42, head into 43, it might be recency bias the other way, because I don't hear those seasons talked about a lot in terms of SNL history. But I have like a nerdy kind of spreadsheet kind of thing that I had been working on over the years. And I had season 42 as maybe like statistically the greatest season of all time. And that surprised me when I looked at the amount of great sketches and great episodes from that season. I'm like, do I really have season 42 as maybe the best? But you look at that era, I think it's underappreciated because it was so recent. That golden age, man, 16, 17, 18, just home run after home run. Like there's a reason why me and Bill and others just revere those years so much. But this seems like, as far as like, if you look at a trajectory of the actual show and how people discuss the show, this actually makes sense.
I agree. This is a very fascinating graphic, and this will be our last one that we'll show here tonight, which is which episode from each season is ranked the highest among the greatest in SNL history. So the seasons that didn't make the countdown, which was the highest episode from those seasons. So I'll just go through in chronological order and we'll see if we see something here. So 1, 2, 3 all made the countdown. 4, Carrie Fisher. 5, Buck Henry. 6, Bill Murray. 7, Donald Pleasance. 8 Eddie Murphy, 9 was Don Rickles, made the countdown, and then 10 Eddie Murphy. So we spoke about all of those. Then we had at 11, we had the Francis Ford Coppola and George Wendt that made the countdown. 12 was Sigourney Weaver, made the countdown. 13, Paul Simon, that's the one that we did not make it. So nothing from 13. 14, Hanks. 15, Hanks. 16, Hanks. 17, Jerry Seinfeld. 18, Walken. 19 did not make the countdown. That was Barkley. 20 was a Goodman episode. That was at the top there. 21, Jim Carrey, made it. 22, is that Kevin Spacey's episode there? That's number 22. Bill, am I looking at that one right?
I believe it is. Yes.
If you squint, it looks like Phil Collins. So maybe we can just say that's Phil Collins' episode.
I think that's the one. If I'm trying to see if I remember this one correctly. Is that the one that was like right after the New Year where they had the Monty Python guys on? But that's
I believe yes.
Yeah, I think that's that
timing
one.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Chad can correct me if I'm wrong there. And then, so that was the best one for 22. 23 was Garth Brooks. 24, 25, 26 all made it. Baldwin, Walken, Conan. 27 was Jack Black. That nothing from 27 made the list, but Jack Black was there. 28 was Walken. 29 was Lindsay. Nothing from 30. Will Ferrell's episode from 30 was considered the best there. 31, Jack Black. 32, Timberlake. 33, Tina Fey's episode. That's the one you vouched for, Bill. 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. All made the list there. Ham, Betty, Timberlake, Fallon, Marty, Fallon. And then 40 was Bill Hader's. Did not make the list. 41, Larry David, Dave Chappelle, 42, John Mulaney, 43, Adam Sandler, 44, Eddie Murphy, 45, all make the list. 46, our most recent season, did not make the list. It was the Timothy Chalamet episode. That was the best one from 46, or the greatest one as voted by the fans. And then there are 4 recent seasons. Sudeikis at 47, Pedro Pascal's at 48, Nate Bargatze, 49, and Jack Black's from 50. All make the list here. Bill, what do you see on this list from the seasons that didn't make it? Anything interesting?
I think 19 and 20 are the only ones we really haven't talked about as far as episodes as we've gone through this tonight. Like, we've touched on Buck and Bill and Carrie, Eddie, John Goodman, season 20. That's a very interesting one because I think that's one of his weaker episodes. So I don't know, but I guess in a season that's so atrocious, it really, I guess that's the one you got to go with. Kevin Spacey of it all is very, very interesting. Wow.
We saved that surprise. I don't know.
And 46, I mean, John, we talk about OJ and Robert Blake. We didn't even touch on Kevin Spacey. No pun intended. 46, we spent so much time talking about that in our first season as a podcast, John. The Chalamet one makes sense because that was probably the most popular episode. But what we've already said about the Anya Taylor-Joy of it all would have made more sense to make the top 50.
Thomas, what do you think here?
I'm looking at the Tom Hanks run from 14, 15, and 16. That's like what GOATs do. That's what the greatest of all time does. This maybe like puts together runs like that. And with that said, I think season 50, I'm probably in the minority, but I think Nate Bargatze had the best episode of season 50 and season 49. So I'm hoping he hosts again in season 51. I think a lot of people are hoping he hosts again. And I want to see if he could, in my mind, if he could get like 3 for 3 as far as best episodes of the season. I think Bargatze is, he might have an all-timer trajectory. I think I've heard you talk about this, John. I don't think it's too early to talk about like a potential trajectory that somebody might be on. I see it with Nate Bargatze. If he continues to host, we could be talking about him with the Alec Baldwins and Christopher Walkens and Tom Hankses. To me, he's that solid.
I think the thing with Bargatze though is that like he's not like one of us anymore. Like he's left the family, like he just hosted the Emmys. He had a CBS special. Like I think he's gotten like the show has made him so big that I'm sure he would come back. I mean, he loves doing it. If they asked him, I'm sure he would come. But like, I just wonder like how much everything else that's like making him have such a successful career is going to lead to like him hosting so many times. But you're totally right, man. Like I agree with you. That is certainly a contender for the best episode from season 50. So we threw a lot of stats at you tonight. I hope you enjoyed this. A lot of work went into putting all of these things together. Bill and Thomas, are there any other questions you have for me before we wrap up here tonight to talk through what we saw on the list? Anything, other episodes you're thinking about?
have to consult my sheet here. Which episode do I have that we did not talk about? We did a good job of covering basically everything. I got to the Kieran Culkin. Oh, the Kristen Stewart episodes from 42 again. I'm just amazed how great of a season 42 was. That Kristen Stewart episode.
Alessia Cara 194. That we,
okay. Yeah, 194.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
No.
did OJ get any votes, John? I guess
Okay,
that's
I'll
really
tell
what
you
Who are
right
the
now.
most problematic hosts that got votes, John?
We have to make a graphic for that. OJ Simpson and Ashford and Simpson got no votes on the
Wow.
list. So
No.
unfortunately,
That Ashford and Simpson performance was really strong. I would have
It
voted
really
for
was.
it just for that.
yeah, I'm sure that there's going to be plenty of questions. Feel free to put them in the chat after the fact if you'd like to put some comments on the video and ask. I'll try my best to answer them during the week to fill out where some of the others landed on the list. But like I said, I hope you enjoyed this. A lot of work and a lot of love went into creating this countdown all season long for you, all summer long, as we've gone through the top 50 episodes. And I just really want to appreciate everybody for voting. I always say, if you don't vote, you can't get mad at the list. So you have to vote in order to be able to have a very strong opinion on it. But either way, I've had a lot of fun with all of the guests. So I want to thank all of the patrons who joined us for the last 15 weeks for hanging out and helping analyze all of these episodes. Of course, Bill for being alongside me for the entire summer doing this one. And I just can't wait to do this again with you, Bill, next summer for another exciting countdown.
Yeah, John, thank you again for having me as the co-pilot. It's just such a thrill. As somebody who would watch 15 episodes of SNL every week in the summer anyway, this gave me a reason to focus on certain episodes and certain people, and it's really been a blast. And as I said last week, like the chat just brings it on Mondays during the summer, never fails us. The marketing team that put all that together, like standing O, incredible work. Can't wait to see all of those when I could see them in bigger letters. But yeah, thanks for having me, and can't wait to start diving into 51 next week.
Yeah, and I'm very excited for it. So I'll talk to you about what's coming up. I have a really great, I have some really exciting podcast related things I'm going to tell you about in a few minutes. But Thomas, I also want to thank you for joining us here tonight. Missed hanging out with you all summer, and I'm glad we got you in right at the end.
Oh man, it's so good to see you guys. My personal life and professional life both became busy. Like this is the busiest I've ever been in my life. So we didn't quite find time to link up this summer for me to be on a countdown episode. But I'm so happy. Thank you so much for inviting me to do this episode tonight. Yeah, again, chef's kiss to everybody involved in this. Those graphics were amazing. All the stats. Everything like that. I appreciate you too. I have a podcast, real quick, Pop Culture 5. We just celebrated 100 episodes. I can't believe it. I got my start here when it was SNL Stats. Gosh, yeah. When it was SNL Stats, I kind of got my start here. And me and Jeremy Dove, my co-host, 100 episodes. So we celebrated. We did a fun Q&A. We did a music playlist shuffle. This week we're doing five essential Led Zeppelin songs, kind of going back in history, doing some Zeppelin. Coming up, we have horror movies. We're talking WTF with Mark Maron episodes. So we have a lot of fun things in store. We're not slowing down from here on out. It's going to be awesome. So Pop Culture 5, wherever you get your podcast. John and Bill, you've been previous guests. So we'll look for some time when you guys aren't so busy, I suppose, and you should come back for more.
I can't wait, my man. So I want to say again, thanks to everybody who voted for the countdown. When we put out these countdown polls, we'll let you know both on Patreon and on social media to be able to vote. So like I said, we're definitely going to be doing this next summer. Okay, let me tell you what's happening here on the Saturday Night Network. And again, if you never want to miss anything, subscribe to the podcast, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify as we turn our attention to season 51. Every single day here leading up to the season, we are doing preview podcasts about 20 to 30 minutes on each cast member. I think we have like like 6 or 7 of them out already. So you can go back and listen in the archives to every one of these cast members talking about what we will see from them. Next Monday in this slot, we will have our preseason roundtable where we will set the table for everything that is going to happen in season 51, including all of the major storylines and themes that we will look at for the season. It's going to be a great discussion, and I love getting into the start of the season and getting that warm up ready to go. And then we will have our cast draft coming up after that. So we'll notify you for when that is to come. And then during the season, if you are with us for modern day episodes, we will have coverage 3 times a week for a hot take show immediately after the episode airs, roundtables on Monday nights, breaking down the macro of every single episode and the best sketches. And then Wednesday for By the Numbers, where we will talk through the stats of every single episode from the season 51. So very excited for that coming up here. We will also have another podcast series running concurrently to season 51, where Sammy K and I will be talking through season 31, 20 years later. So very excited to launch that. That will begin this Wednesday on the main feed, where we will have a preview podcast talking about everything from season 31. And then as the episodes would have aired 20 years ago, we're going to be dropping our discussion of those episodes throughout the season. Those will be available on Patreon. We're also going to try and make them available to YouTube members. So I need to get that membership tier thing organized, but I'm working on that. So we'll figure that out as we go. But that one will be available as of next week. I'm also very excited to announce that, of course, if you've been listening to our podcast for a couple of years now, you will know that we are presented by Late Nighter, which is this fabulous late night TV website that covers all of the late night shows and Saturday Night Live. And they've been huge supporters of everything here at the SNN. And I'm very excited to announce that I am going to be continuing my podcasting journey and expanding by podcasting for Late Nighter beginning tomorrow. So I'm very excited to do that over at the Late Nighter YouTube channel, where I will be launching a new podcast starting tomorrow that will be available almost every weekday. That's the plan for now, called Late Night Last Night, where I will be telling you what happened on all of the late night shows the previous night. So in case you check out Fallon or Colbert or Kimmel, if he's still around, we will talk through all of the things that happened there, all of the storylines, all of the guests, what they're promoting, and all of that. So it's called Late Night Last Night, and that'll be available on the Late Nighter Podcast Network feed, where there will be other late night podcasts as well happening, including some interviews hosted by Mark Malkoff. So I'm very excited to be doing that over with Late Nighter. That will be happening as well. So as you said, Thomas, very busy time here, but always happy to be with friends and hanging out. So looking forward to launching that journey tomorrow, and hopefully you guys will all check that out as well. And I'll continue to let you know where to find that one. So really appreciate everybody hanging out here on this Monday night, week after week. On behalf of everybody here at the Saturday Night Network, my name is John Schneider. And on behalf of Thomas and Bill, we will see you next time, everybody. Have a good one.